Chapter 39-27. The Chunyang school was one of the top 5 emperor gods in Tunglung province, and the Seven Kills Valley was another one. The middle-aged man who had appeared in front of Duan Lingtian was an emperor god from the Seven Kills Valley. His name was Hong Yunxiao. Compared to Deng Kuei from the state capital of Qing, Hong Yunxiao was undoubtedly more famous in Tunglung province. Hong Yunxiao was an emperor god from the Seven Kills Valley. He had done many great things in Tunglung province and was famous. In the eyes of the Tianlong clan and the Tai sect, he was superior and could not be disrespected. But now, Elder Deng Kuei from the Taowu Mountain Villa of the state capital of Qing had said that Hong Yunxiao was defeated by him. As the saying went, don't hit someone in the face, and don't expose someone's shortcomings. Deng Kuei's words instantly caused Hong Yunxiao's face to darken. He suddenly let out a cold snort. Although he did not do it deliberately, the sound waves from his cold snort still caused many of the weaker god kings to change their expressions. Some of them even bled from their 7 orifices. Even if an emperor god did not deliberately use sound waves to attack, the sound that he made when he was extremely angry still carried a terrifying power. So this is an emperor god? Duan Ling Tian's eyes brightened as he looked at the silhouette of the person in front of him. Although he had not seen the silhouette of the Golden Dragon Elder, he knew the silhouette of the silhouette was much stronger than the Golden Dragon Elder from the Heavenly Dragon sect. They were not on the same level at all. Deng Kuei, you're 10,000 years older than me. Is it something to be proud of? Hong Yunxiao snorted and said with a cold smile, moreover, you said that was 3,000 years ago. If you're interested, I don't mind fighting with you again now. But we'll have to go somewhere else. As Hong Yunxiao spoke, his tone was cold and domineering. Haha. Hearing this, Deng Kuei laughed. It seems that you, Hong Yunxiao, have made some progress in the past 3,000 years. All right, after I finish my business in Tunglung province, I'll find a place to fight you, Hong Yunxiao. Why don't we go to Seven Kills Valley? Deng Kuei smiled very confidently, but his smile was uglier than crying. If you dare to go, I will naturally accompany you. Hong Yunxiao sneered. Why wouldn't I dare? Deng Kuei said indifferently, don't tell me that you, the Seven Kills Valley, would dare to keep me, Deng Kuei, here? I don't believe that the Seven Kills Valley has the guts to do so. Deng Kuei's words made Hong Yunxiao's face turn gloomy again. The Seven Kills Valley indeed did not dare to keep Deng Kuei here. Although the puppet villa behind Deng Kuei was not a very protective force, Deng Kuei's identity was a little sensitive. This was because one of the puppet villa's elders, Gold Puppet, was Deng Kuei's grandfather. Deng Kuei was the puppet villa's silver puppet elder. The silver puppet elders were all lower god emperors. As for the gold puppet elder, his position was even higher than the silver puppet elder. Moreover, only a middle god emperor was qualified to take up the position. After taking a deep breath, Hong Yunxiao's face gradually calmed down. Then, when Deng Kuei looked at Duan Lingtian again, he immediately turned to Duan Lingtian and said bluntly, Duan Lingtian, if you join the Seven Kills Valley, everything that you can get in the Seven Kills Valley can be obtained in the Seven Kills Valley as well, and even more if you join the Seven Kills Valley. No matter what the puppet villa offers, the Seven Kills Valley will give you more than what they offer. Hong Yunxiao spoke first and threw an olive branch to Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally saw the appearance of the Emperor God expert from the Seven Kills Valley. He was an average-looking middle-aged man with a medium build. Even so, no one would think that he was an average-looking man. This was because the aura he exuded was enough to make one feel that he was a crane among chickens. Especially his eyes. They were so deep that no one dared to look at them directly. Hong Yunxiao, Deng Kuei sneered. Aren't you afraid that you'll bite your tongue when you talk big? The Seven Kills Valley might not even be in the top 3 among the 5 Emperor God level forces in Tunglung province, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Deng Kuei looked at Duan Lingtian and said, Duan Lingtian, the puppet villa is one of the 2 strongest Emperor God level forces in the state capital of Qing. You won't regret joining the puppet villa. 2 strongest forces? Hong Yunxiao sneered. Deng Kuei, is it so hard to admit that the puppet villa is not as good as others? The number 1 force in the state capital of Qing is something that even the puppet villa is not as good as. Now, you're putting the puppet villa on a pedestal. Do you think that others don't understand the state capital of Qing? Or is the puppet villa strong enough to challenge an emperor god level force that has an upper level emperor god expert? Hong Yuanxiao seemed to be unhappy with Deng Kuei and wanted to challenge Deng Kuei, upper level emperor god. Although Hong Yuanxiao's words were mocking Deng Kuei, when it entered the ears of Duanling Tian and the others, it shook their hearts. The state capital of Qing had an emperor god level force that had an upper level emperor god expert. An upper level emperor god was the strongest among the emperor gods. Although there were differences in strength between upper level emperor gods, even the weakest upper level emperor god was not someone that more than 99% of the middle level emperor gods could go against. In Tunglong province, the 5 strongest emperor god level forces, including the 7 Kills Valley and the Chunyang school, were called the top emperor god level forces because they were the top forces in Tunglong province. Other than the 5 strongest forces, there were no other forces that could stand shoulder to shoulder with them, let alone surpass them. If one were to walk out of Tunglong province and look at the mystic gangland of the Plains of Gods, the 5 strongest forces in Tunglong province, including the 7 Kills Valley and the Chunyang school, could only be considered average emperor god level forces. As for an emperor god level force like the Tianlong clan, which did not have an emperor god expert, it could only be considered an outdated emperor god level force that did not live up to its name. It was at the bottom of the emperor god level forces. Many people did not even consider the Tianlong clan as an emperor god level force. Hong Yuanxiao's words angered Deng Kuei. Hong Yuanxiao, even if the puppet villa is not as good as the Heaven's Roar sect, we are still stronger than the 7 Kills Valley. I'm afraid the 7 Kills Valley doesn't even have 3 intermediate emperor gods, right? As for the puppet villa, the number of intermediate emperor gods we have is more than 5. Deng Kuei's words, which turned into anger out of humiliation, exposed the bottom line of the puppet villa and the 7 Kills Valley. This gave Duanling Tian and the others a better understanding of the 7 Kills Valley and the puppet villa. 2 emperor god experts arguing. Why do they look like children arguing? Duanling Tian was speechless as he looked at the 2 emperor god experts arguing before him. He felt that the 2 of them had completely overturned his impression of emperor god experts. How could emperor god experts argue with each other like shrews? Just as Deng Kuei and Hong Yuanxiao were continuing their argument and had temporarily forgotten about Duanling Tian, a faint yet frivolous voice came from outside. The 7 Kills Valley is not as good as the puppet villa, but our Chunyang school should be able to compete with the Taowu Mountain Villa, right? Deng Kuei and Hong Yuanxiao immediately stopped talking and looked toward the door at the same time. Clanmaster. Clanmaster. This time, it was the group of Tianlong clan members who were standing near the gate who bowed to the door. Clanmaster? Duanling Tian's eyes lit up. It seemed that the clanmaster of the Tianlong clan had arrived as well. As for the owner of the voice just now, it should be someone from the Chunyang school. Duanling Tian knew about the Chunyang school very well. Even the Chunyang school had tried many times to recruit him. Last time, under the leadership of Yang Qinya, many Chunyang school elders had come. It could be said that they were very sincere. Of course, the most sincere one was one of the Chunyang school elders who had come with Yang Qinya. He still remembered that the Chunyang school elder's name was Qin Wuyang. But judging from the voice, this time, it's not him who came from the Chunyang school? Duanling Tian thought to himself. In the next moment, Duanling Tian saw 3 figures slowly walking in from outside. One of them walked in front, while the other 2 walked side by side and followed behind. With just a glance, Duanling Tian recognized the 2 people at the back. One of them was the Chunyang school elder, Qin Wuyang, and the other was the clan master of the Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong. At this moment, Long Qingchong and Qin Wuyang were escorting the person in front of them. This person was a young man. His face was handsome and resolute, and there was a sharp aura between his brows that made people not dare to look at him directly. However, there was a lazy smile on his face, and he appeared to be frivolous. As soon as the young man appeared, Hong Yuanxiao's eyes narrowed slightly. Then, he said in surprise, "Zhen Pingfan, you actually came personally?" Zhen Pingfan? Upon hearing Hong Yuanxiao's words, apart from Deng Kuei who was standing not far in front of him, the 2 people behind the young man, and a few elders from the top emperor god forces in Tunglung province behind the counter in the main hall, including Duan Lingtian, were stunned. Jinping fan? Jinping fan? Duan Lingtian thought to himself. No matter how he looked at it, this young man in front of him was not ordinary. Why did he have such a name? Did he come up with it himself, or did his parents come up with it? This was too ridiculous, right? At this moment, not only Duan Lingtian, but even the people from the Tianlong clan and Tai sect could not help but feel the corners of their mouths twitching. Such a dazzling person with a refined temperament was not even close to the word ordinary, okay? It was simply a blasphemy to the word ordinary. Hong Yunxiao, I'll help you teach him a lesson. I'll cripple him so that he won't dare to talk back to you in the future. How about you give me that half-condensed high-grade divine weapon in your hand? The young man, Jinping Fan, the Jingshu elder of Chunyang School, walked up to Hong Yunxiao unhurriedly and grinned. Hong Yunxiao was a little embarrassed when he heard this. Forget it. I can solve my own problems. 3,000 years ago, I was indeed no match for him. But that doesn't mean that I'm no match for him now. In fact, Hong Yunxiao was not very confident that he could defeat Deng Kui now, but when he heard Jinping Fan's words, he repeatedly declined. At the same time, he was a little puzzled. How did Jinping Fan know that he had a high-grade divine weapon that had given birth to a half-spirit? Not many people in the Seven Kills Valley knew about this matter. Chapter 39-28. Jinping Fan. The silver puppet elder of the puppet villa, Deng Kui, was also looking at Jinping Fan at this moment. Deng Kui's position in the puppet villa was actually equivalent to Jinping Fan's position in the Chunyang school. He was the silver puppet elder of the puppet villa while Jinping Fan was the Jingshu elder of the Chunyang school. Furthermore, one had to be at least a lower god emperor in order to take up these two positions. At this moment, Deng Kui's expression was not very good. However, there was a strong sense of fear in his eyes when he looked at Jinping Fan. Deng Kui, looking at your current high-spirited appearance, it seems that you have recovered from your injuries in the past. However, I wonder if your grandfather has recovered from his injuries? Jinping Fan looked at Deng Kui. Although there was still a smile on his face, there was a meaningful look in his eyes. Deng Kui's expression changed drastically when he heard this. 1,000 years ago, he and his grandfather came to Tunglong province from the Qing state prefecture because of some matters. Moreover, they wanted the Chunyang school. At that time, the two of them had taken a fancy to an item in the Chunyang school. They offered 2 treasures as a bet and invited the experts of the Chunyang school to spar with each other with the same cultivation base. If one of them won and the other lost, they would call it quits. If both of them lost, the 2 treasures would be given to the Chunyang school. If the Chunyang school won both, the treasure of the Chunyang school would belong to them. At that time, his grandfather fought against a void-pierced stage elder of the Chunyang school. They were both mid-level god emperors. Although it was just a spar, the fight was extremely intense. It was as if the sky and earth changed color. In the end, the void-pierced stage elder of the Chunyang school severely injured his grandfather at the cost of minor injuries. All these years, his grandfather had been recuperating. Originally, his injuries were almost healed, but after the 1,000-year tribulation, his injuries worsened. He didn't even know if he could survive the next 1,000-year tribulation. As for him, he had fought against Jinping Fan, who was already a Jingshu elder. Within 3 moves, he had been severely injured by Jinping Fan. The power that Jinping Fan displayed was close to that of a middle god emperor. He even felt that even the person who was known as the number 1 person below a middle god emperor in Puppet Villa might not be a match for Jinping Fan. In that bet, Deng Kui and his grandfather lost miserably. It could be said that they went for wool and came home shorn. They were seriously injured and were later taken back by the people sent by the Puppet Villa. Taking a deep breath, Deng Kui forced a smile on his face. Thank you for your concern, Elder Jin. Grandfather's injuries have been healed not long after returning to the Puppet Villa. Although there was a smile on the surface, Deng Kui's heart was full of hatred. Even he himself had to recuperate for a long time because he was seriously injured by Jinping Fan. Fortunately, his 1,000-year tribulation had only come 100 years ago. If it had come a few hundred years earlier, he didn't know if he would have been able to pass it smoothly. The guy from Chunyang School seemed to be all smiles, but when he attacked, he was not careless at all. Back then, not only did he shatter all the heavenly veins in his and his grandfather's body, but he also injured their souls. That's good. Jin Pingfan nodded with a smile, then said, Elder Deng Kue, I'm afraid you will return empty-handed this time. Duan Lingtian has already accepted our Chunyang School's invitation. Before the war between the Tianlong clan and the Tai sect began, he promised little Yang Yang that after the war, if he wanted to take a step forward, he would go to our Chunyang School. When Deng Kue frowned, Zhen Pingfan turned his head slightly to look at the old man behind him. Little Yang Yang, tell your martial uncle Deng Kue if this is true. Little Yang Yang. When he heard the first half of Zhen Pingfan's words, Duan Lingtian vaguely guessed that the little Yang Yang mentioned was the elder of Chunyang School, Qin Wuyang, with whom he had exchanged soul orbs. Now, when he saw Zhen Pingfan turn his head to look at Qin Wuyang, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. A young man calling an old man little Yang Yang. No matter how he looked at it, it was a little funny. Martial Uncle Deng Kue. At this time, Qin Wuyang also stepped forward and said to Deng Kue, It's true. Deng Kue heard this and smiled faintly. It's just a verbal agreement. After all, I haven't entered your Chunyang School, so I can change my mind at any time. Deng Kue paused and turned to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, join our Puppet Mountain Villa, and I will personally accept you as my disciple. And I can assure you that the resources you will get in Puppet Mountain Villa will not be worse than anyone else's. Deng Kue thought that his offer was so tempting that Duan Lingtian would find it hard to refuse. However, he soon realized that Duan Lingtian didn't show any signs of being moved by his offer. At this time, Jin Pingfan also spoke. He looked at Duan Lingtian and nodded with a smile. Duan Lingtian, I am a lazy person by nature. I have never accepted a disciple, and I don't plan to accept one either. However, if you really want to become my disciple, I can recommend a Void Peer Stage Elder of Chunyang School to you. Having a mid-god emperor as your master is better than having an ordinary low-god emperor as your master. When Jin Pingfan said this, Deng Kue's expression turned ugly. Jin Pingfan, you are doing this on purpose, aren't you? However, Jin Pingfan ignored him and continued, If you don't want to become my disciple, you can join the Chunyang School and be an idle person without any restrictions. However, I, Jin Pingfan, owe you a favor. No matter what you encounter in the future, as long as it doesn't go against my principles, and as long as I, Jin Pingfan, am capable of helping you, I will not refuse. Besides, if you join the Chunyang School, not only will you enjoy the treatment of the true martial disciple with the highest status among all the disciples in our Chunyang School, but the Chunyang School will also owe you a favor. Jin Pingfan said, However, if you want the Chunyang School to return the favor, you cannot violate the Chunyang School's interests. At the same time, the Chunyang School will not do anything that goes against the principles of the school. As soon as Zhen Pingfan's voice fell, Deng Kue laughed mockingly. Jin Pingfan, you sure make it sound nice. Can you represent the Chunyang School? You are just a quiet void elder in the Chunyang School. In the Chunyang School, there are more than 10 people who have a higher status than you. How dare you say that you can represent the Chunyang School? As he spoke, the mocking smile on Deng Kue's face became even more pronounced. Hearing Deng Kue's words, Zhen Pingfan laughed. Elder Deng Kue, hearing you say this, I know that you probably don't know that I, Jin Pingfan, have another identity in the Chunyang School apart from being a quiet void elder. Deng Kue frowned when he heard this. Little Yang Yang, let me tell you, Martial Uncle Deng Kue. Your martial uncle has another identity in the Chunyang School apart from being a quiet void elder. Zhen Pingfan said to Qin Wuyang. For a moment, almost everyone's eyes, including Duan Lingtian, fell on Qin Wuyang. Even Long Qingchong, the clan master of the Tianlong clan, was no exception. Only one person, the God Emperor expert of the Seven Kills Valley, Hong Yun Xiao, was looking at Deng Kue as if he was looking at an idiot. At this moment, Qin Wuyang also looked at Deng Kue and said, Martial Uncle Deng Kue, I'm afraid you still don't know. Martial Uncle isn't just a quiet void elder in the Chunyang School. His father is also the strongest void peer stage elder in the Chunyang School. The current clan master of the Chunyang school is his junior martial brother. He is like a brother and a father to him. Yes, martial uncle is the only son of that void-pierced stage-old ancestor. In the Chunyang school, his words are usually more effective than those of the clan master. As soon as Qin Wuyang said that, Deng Kuei's expression changed slightly because he really didn't know about this. After all, he wasn't a citizen of Tunglung province. Moreover, his understanding of the Chunyang school in Tunglung province was limited to the one time he met with it 1,000 years ago. However, he didn't expect that Jin Pingfan, who severely injured him 1,000 years ago, was not only strong but also had an extraordinary identity. For a moment, his expression turned ugly. After all this time, not only did this Zhan Pingfan have extraordinary strength and an extraordinary identity in the Chunyang school, he was also a member of the Chunyang school's princeling party. And now, the people in the surroundings, whether they were members of the Tianlong clan or the Greater One sect, had an extremely complicated expression. Many of them were even cursing in their hearts. You deliberately chose this name to anger us, didn't you? How is this ordinary? If this is ordinary, then shouldn't we just bang our heads against the wall and die? Even Duan Lingtian was looking at Zhan Pingfan with a stunned expression. He felt that the other party's name was too ridiculous and too infuriating. Duan Lingtian, when you enter the Chunyang school, if you meet anyone who doesn't follow the rules and goes against you, you can find me. I'll beat them up for you. Jin Pingfan looked at Duan Lingtian and continued to promise with a smile. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. I, Duan Lingtian, am actually valued by Elder Jin like this. Enough. Jin Pingfan waved his hand and said, I don't like to beat around the bush. Just be straightforward. Are you willing to enter our Chunyang school? Now, I just want a word from you. Duan Lingtian. To Duan Lingtian's surprise, at this moment, even the clan leader of the Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong, sent him a telepathic message. Entering the Chunyang school is a very good choice. This time, the other 4 major forces also sent people, but they were all scared away by Elder Zhan. Hearing Long Qingchong's words, Duan Lingtian was speechless. So, Elder Zhan of the Chunyang school didn't give him a choice at all? Qin Wuyang's telepathic message also reached Duan Lingtian's ears. Little brother Duan, trust me. You won't regret entering the Chunyang school. When it comes to protecting people, our Chunyang school is famous in Tunglung province. In the Pure Yang sect, Martial Granduncle is famous for being protective of his disciples. Although Martial Granduncle doesn't accept any disciples, he often stands up for us martial nephews and martial nephews. After hearing Qin Wuyang's telepathic message and recalling Zhen Pingfan's sincere promise, Duan Lingtian looked at Zhen Pingfan and said seriously, Elder Zhen, Duan Lingtian is willing to enter the Chunyang school. Hearing this, Zhen Pingfan's usually serious face suddenly broke into a smile. Good, straightforward. Then, he raised his hand and took out a storage ring. This is my gift to you. I've heard about the matter between you and the Linghu family. Inside this ring is the 100 million divine stones you promised to return to the Linghu family. If there's nothing else, you can return to the Chunyang school with little Yang Yang and me after you've paid off this debt. Well, if you go to the Linghu family, we can go with you and join in the fun. I'd like to see the expressions of the Linghu family members when they see you return this sum of divine stones so quickly. Chapter 39-29. Thank you, Elder Zhen. Duan Lingtian didn't refuse Zhen Pingfan's kindness because he really did need this batch of divine stones. It would be best if he could help Linghu Renjie solve this problem before he went to the Chunyang school. This way, he would have one less worry. Otherwise, he couldn't bear to do it. After all, Linghu Renjie was removed from his position as the head of the Linghu family because of him. 100 million divine stones was actually very easy for Duan Lingtian to earn by refining some limited emperor-level divine pills, but that was not very realistic. The appearance of limited emperor-level divine pills was enough to cause a sensation in the Tunglong province. At that time, he would either be roped in or imprisoned as a pill slave. Even when refining limited emperor-level divine pills in the Tianlong clan, he was very careful. Generally, he would really refine 2 limited emperor-level divine pills at the same time to avoid being discovered. In between refining 2 limited Emperor-level divine pills at the same time, he would refine 1 or 2 limited Emperor-level divine pills like an advertisement. This was also why no one in the Tianlong clan had discovered that he knew how to refine limited Emperor-level divine pills until now. Otherwise, not to mention others, even the old clan leader of the Tianlong clan, who was a divine pill master that even the top 5 god Emperor-level forces in the Tunglong province wanted to recruit, would definitely find out. After receiving the storage ring from Zhenping Fan, Duan Lingtian immediately recognized it as his master. Soon, he saw a mountain of, well, not divine stones, but divine crystals. Duan Lingtian casually weighed these divine crystals with his divine sense. There was definitely more than 1 million divine stones, but it was not much more than 10,000 divine stones at most. After all, it was very difficult to accurately determine the weight of divine stones with just one's divine sense. Moreover, even scales were not all the same. When are you going to visit the Morong family? Zhenping Fan was obviously very interested in the scene of Duan Lingtian going to the Morong family, and a hint of expectation appeared on his face. I'll go back and say goodbye to my friends, then I'll leave. At that time, I'll contact Elder Qin and ask Elder Qin to tell Elder Zhen that I'll leave after confirming the time. Duan Lingtian said. No need to go through so much trouble. Zhenping Fan waved his hand and took out a soul bead. Let's exchange a soul bead. When you're ready, just contact me. However, I hope that you'll settle everything and follow us to Chunyang School after you leave the Tianlong clan. Chunyang School has recently released a batch of good resources. They're all for the true martial arts disciples. However, those resources aren't evenly distributed. You have to fight for them. If you can make it in time, you can still get a share. If you can't, you won't get any benefits at all. After Zhenping Fan said this, the smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by a serious expression. Anything that could make him so serious must be good stuff. Therefore, after hearing Zhenping Fan's words and seeing Zhenping Fan's serious expression, Duan Lingtian's eyes suddenly narrowed and he said solemnly, Don't worry, Elder Zhen. I'll do it as soon as possible. We can leave the Tianlong clan in 2 days at most. Duan Lingtian said, Good. Zhenping Fan's face bloomed again. The earlier we leave, the more time we can spend on the road. If you have anything you want to do, you can do it together. Then, you can go back to Chunyang School with me without any worries. Okay. Duan Lingtian nodded. During the conversation between Duan Lingtian and Zhenping Fan, Silver Puppet Elder Deng Kue from Puppet Villa, a top god-level force in the state capital of Qing, also left unwillingly. When he saw Duan Lingtian's attitude, he knew that his trip was in vain. As soon as Deng Kue left, the Greater One Sect's master also left. For a time, many disciples of Tai Yi sect also left, but before they left, they all looked at Duan Lingtian with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Congratulations, Elder Zhen. Congratulations to Chunyang School. At this time, the 7 Kills Valley Elder Hong Yunxiao, whose face flashed with a touch of helplessness, straightened his face and repeatedly congratulated Zhenping Fan. At the same time, he said with emotion, Chunyang School has Duan Lingtian. In this 7 prefectures feast, the Zhenwu disciples of Chunyang School will definitely shine. When the time comes, Chunyang School, Hong Yunxiao's voice abruptly stopped, but his eyes were full of envy when he looked at Zhenping Fan. Then, Hong Yunxiao also left. After Hong Yunxiao left, Zhenping Fan and Qin Wuyang successively said goodbye to Duan Lingtian, and then left first, returning to Tianlong Temple. As for the clan master of Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong, as he turned to follow them, he also sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian to congratulate him. Duan Lingtian, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you shine in Chunyang School. If you have time in the future, you can come back to the Tianlong clan at any time. The Tianlong clan's door will always be open for you. Long Qingchong said. Thank you, clan master. Duan Lingtian repeatedly thanked him. After Long Qingchong left, the elders of the various top god-level forces in the main hall, who were in charge of registering the battle achievements, also congratulated Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, congratulations. An elder of Chunyang School on duty, in particular, stared at Duan Lingtian with bright eyes and a smug expression on his face. Duan Lingtian has finally fallen into the hands of the Chunyang school. Fortunately, these were his heartfelt words. If he had said them in front of Duan Lingtian would really think that he had walked into a den of thieves. At the same time, a group of Tianlong clan members present also congratulated Duan Lingtian. Senior brother Duan Lingtian, congratulations. Congratulations, senior brother Duan Lingtian. Congratulations, Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian left the Battle Merit Exchange Hall amidst the congratulatory words of the Tianlong clan members. After that, he walked around Peace City but did not buy anything. He left Peace City and returned to Heavenly Dragon City before leaving the Emperor Battle Realm. It's a pity I didn't manage to see the second Divine Void-piercing shuttle. In fact, Duan Lingtian had already obtained all the items he wanted in Peace City. This time, he was wandering around Peace City to see if there was a second space-piercing divine shuttle he could buy. The Divine Void-piercing shuttle could send his clones back to the Devata realms and the mundane realms. Duan Lingtian was still worried about his master, Feng Qingyang. I hope master is safe. He's a person with great fortune and has obtained the inheritance of a supreme powerhouse. He won't die in the hands of someone as insignificant as Mi Xian. Duan Lingtian glanced at his spatial ring, and a soul pearl lay unscathed in the space within the spatial ring. It was none other than his master, Feng Qingyang's soul pearl. However, the soul imprint on the soul pearl was very faint. It would not be long before the soul imprint completely disappeared, rendering the soul pearl useless. Once the soul pearl became empty, it would no longer be able to provide information about his master, Feng Qingyang. Even if something happened to his master, Feng Qingyang, the soul pearl would not change. When I arrive at Chunyang School, I must get a few more Divine Void-piercing shuttles. With the Chunyang School's foundation, I'm sure they'll be able to obtain a few more Divine Void-piercing shuttles. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. As for the Tianlong clan, previously, Duan Lingtian had asked Xue Haichuan if there were any Divine Void-piercing shuttles in the Tianlong clan. The answer he received was that they often appeared, but they were in short supply recently. This was because the spatial passages between the realms of gods and the Devata realms were closed recently. Those who came from the Devata realms to the Mystic Gangland and stayed in the Tianlong clan could only return to their hometowns through this method. For this reason, the Divine Void-piercing shuttles were very popular during this period. However, if it was during normal times, no one would care about it. Brother Haichuan. After leaving the Emperor Battle Realm and returning to the Tianlong Temple, Duan Lingtian immediately contacted Xue Haichuan. Xue Haichuan smiled when he received Duan Lingtian's message. Little Tian, are you in a hurry to tell me the good news? A god emperor from the Chunyang school personally invited you to the Chunyang school? Moreover, he promised you many benefits? Xue Haichuan had just received news about what had happened in the Emperor Battle Realm. He was happy for Duan Lingtian. It's not about that, Duan Lingtian replied. Brother Haichuan, you didn't leave your residence, right? I'll go over now and tell you in person. All right. Xue Haichuan's reply was straightforward. I'll wait for you. As Duan Lingtian made his way to the Tianlong Temple, the disciples of the Tianlong clan who saw him congratulated him. There were quite a few people from the Tianlong clan who had joined the top god emperor forces in Tunglong province. However, no one from the Tianlong clan had ever received a personal invitation from a god emperor like Duan Lingtian. After all, that was a god emperor, one of the top existences in Tunglong province. For such an existence to personally invite Duan Lingtian, it was clear how much importance he attached to Duan Lingtian. This was a great honor for the Tianlong clan. Although they could not enjoy any practical benefits for the time being, once Duan Lingtian grew up and became a top existence in Tunglong province, he could take care of the Tianlong clan a little. That would be enough for the Tianlong clan to benefit immensely. Therefore, whether they recognized Duan Lingtian as a disciple of the Tianlong clan or were reminded by others that the purple-clothed young man in front of them was a disciple of the Duan Lingtian's Tianlong clan, all of them enthusiastically congratulated Duan Lingtian. In the end, there were too many people congratulating him, and Duan Lingtian was too tired to deal with them all. He had no choice but to teleport back to Xue Haichuan's residence. When he arrived, Xue Haichuan was already waiting for Duan Lingtian in the front yard. Brother Haichuan. After Duan Lingtian appeared, he smiled at Xue Haichuan. This time, you owe me a big favor. Xue Haichuan's face was filled with confusion. He had no idea what Duan Lingtian was talking about. You should have received news of Lu Yin's death, right? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. Xue Haichuan nodded. He's been dead for a while now. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, Xue Haichuan's pupils shrank. You can't be saying that Lu Yin is. Before Xue Haichuan could finish speaking, Duan Lingtian had already taken out a divine weapon and placed it on the stone table in the courtyard. It was the high-grade divine weapon that Lu Yin had used. Chapter 39:30. When he heard Duan Lingtian's words just now, Xue Haichuan had already vaguely realized that Lu Yin's death might have something to do with Duan Lingtian. Now that he saw Duan Lingtian take out Lu Yin's divine tool, he was completely convinced. But the next moment, Xue Haichuan said worriedly, "Little Tian, you didn't kill Lu Yin when he and the Greater One Sex Elder Diming were both injured, did you? Is the Greater One Sex Elder Diming still alive? If he's alive and this matter is exposed, it won't be good for you. Although you have the Chunyang school as your backer and the Tianlong clan can't do anything to you, if this matter spreads, it won't be good for your reputation. In the future, the people of the Chunyang school will say that you, Duan Lingtian, are a person who would kill a fellow disciple in the Emperor War realm. Even the higher-ups of the Chunyang school will most likely be wary of you." In Xue Haichuan's view, with Duan Lingtian's strength, killing half of the newly promoted White Dragon Elders should not be a problem, but it would be impossible for him to kill a White Dragon Elder like Lu Yin. Although Xue Haichuan's strength was greater than Lu Yin's, he did not dare to say that he was 100% certain that he could kill Lu Yin. "Brother Haichuan, don't worry." Duan Lingtian smiled. "Before you knew about Lu Yin's death, I was the only one who knew. Speaking of which, he was the one who courted death. He wanted to kill me, so I killed him instead," Duan Lingtian said. After listening to Duan Lingtian's story, Xue Haichuan breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Duan Lingtian with a different gaze. "It seems that you've been hiding a lot of your strength. It's really unbelievable. You're not even 3,000 years old, but you've already achieved this much. In the history of Tunglong Province, there has probably never been someone like you." Xue Haichuan sighed. When he finished speaking, he looked at Duan Lingtian again with a serious expression. "Little Tian, I won't thank you. Whether it's me or your brother Haichuan, we'll remember this favor. Brother Haichuan, I didn't kill him for all of you. He wanted my life, so I killed him." Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. He did not tell Xue Haichuan about how dangerous the process of killing Lu Yin was. Even if Xue Haichuan himself, in the end, he would most likely have died without a doubt when he was faced with the final blow. Xue Haichuan broke Xue Haichuan was had. Otherwise, brother Lingtian, brother would have suffered in the future. "Brother Haichuan, I'm leaving in 2 days. Go and pick up brother Haishan from Sikong's place. Let's have a good drink tonight." "Yes, call brother Yannian," Duan Lingtian said with a smile. "I also heard that you'll be leaving with the God Emperor from Chunyang School in 2 days. Xue Haichuan nodded and smiled. "All right, I'll go get my brother now. In the future, I won't have to trouble revered Elder Sikong to take care of my brother. Lu Yin is dead, so no one will target him." "You still have to be careful." Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, "Although Lu Yin is dead, the people around him are still alive. It's better to get rid of those who want to avenge Lu Yin and kill brother Haichuan." "That's a small matter. I don't even have to do it myself," Xue Haichuan said nonchalantly. In fact, when he confirmed that Lu Yin had died on the battlefield, he made arrangements to get rid of those loyal to Lu Yin who could pose a threat to his brother Xue Haishan. "That's good." Duan Lingtian nodded. He had just said it casually. In fact, he knew that Xue Haichuan couldn't have not thought of this. That day, Duan Lingtian stayed at Xue Haichuan's place and drank and chatted with Xue Haichuan, Xue Haishan, and Dongfang Yannian. That night, Duan Lingtian didn't deliberately use his divine power to force himself to drink. He let the drunkenness fill his mind to his heart's content. It had been a very, very long time since he had been so indulgent. At this moment, he temporarily felt no pressure or urgency, because he knew that he was safe. No one would attack him, and no one would dare to attack him. Even the Tianlong clan's vice-sect master, Xuemingji, didn't have the guts to attack him at this moment. Now, he didn't just have the Tianlong clan's protection. He also had the protection of the Chunyang school's god emperor. Apart from Xue Haishan, who was also drunk, Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian looked at each other when they saw Duanling Tian's drunken appearance. They could see a sigh in each other's eyes. It can be seen that little Tian has quite a few things on his mind. Dongfang Yannian sighed. If he can't even solve his own problems, it'll be very difficult for us to help him. Xue Haichuan also sighed. Although Duanling Tian did not reveal what was bothering him from the beginning until the end, his emotions were spread to everyone present as they drank. Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian were the only ones who felt it when he was drunk. The next day, after Duanling Tian sobered up, he prepared to leave. Little Tian, if there's anything you need us to do, feel free to send us a message. Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian saw Duanling Tian off. Xue Haichuan's expression became serious, and he said seriously, "You don't need to be so courteous with us." That's right. Dongfang Yannian also nodded. If there's anything you need, feel free to find the two of us. Of course, you have to be quick. I'm afraid that you'll surpass the two of us very soon. Towards the end, Dongfang Yannian let out another sigh. He was truly convinced by the growth speed of the person before him. He had never seen someone who could grow to such a level in such a short period of time. All right. Duanling Tian nodded and smiled. Although he didn't really remember how he lost his composure last night, he still had a vague impression of it. He agreed to Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian's good intentions. Even if he knew that he would never need Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian's help for his problems. Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian were powerless when it came to a godly venerable level faction. Little Tian. Dongfang Yannian continued, "You've given me all your battle merits and sect contribution points. Not only have I returned the battle merits you owe me, I've also earned. In the future, if there's anything you need, feel free to tell me. If the sect or P-City happens to have it, I'll exchange it for you and send it to you." "Don't worry, Brother Yannian. I won't be courteous." Duanling Tian smiled. Yesterday, after returning Dongfang Yannian's battle merits and some contribution points, he originally planned to split the remaining contribution points between Dongfang Yannian and Xue Haichuan. After all, he was about to leave the Tianlong clan, so there was no point in keeping the contribution points. However, Xue Haichuan refused. According to him, Duanling Tian killing Lu Yin was already a huge favor to him and his elder brother. He couldn't take the contribution points. In the end, they all fell into Dongfang Yannian's hands. Dongfang Yannian originally wanted to refuse, but because Duanling Tian was already half-drunk and took it seriously, Dongfang Yannian could only helplessly accept it. "Brother Haichuan, Brother Yannian, I'm leaving. When Brother Haishan wakes up, help me say goodbye to him. Also, Brother Yannian, help me say goodbye to sister-in-law as well." Duanling Tian said goodbye to Xue Haichuan and Dongfang Yannian, then left. In the following day, he prepared to say goodbye to his other two friends in the Tianlong clan, Ding Yin and Ho Qingning. That night, Duanling Tian drank another round of wine. However, he didn't indulge himself like last night. Instead, Ding Yin and Ho Qingning were more indulgent and passed out drunk. Ho Qingning, in particular, even told Duanling Tian to be extra careful when he went to the Chunyang school. The more powerful a sect was, the more resources it controlled. The competition within a sect was even more bitter, and people who schemed against each other could be found everywhere. Although Ho Qingning was only the young sect master of a divine king-level sect, he was also very knowledgeable about the knack involved. As for Ding Yin, he said that he would strive to enter the Chunyang school in the future, so that he wouldn't even be able to see Duanling Tian's back. "Let's go." After Duanling Tian said goodbye to Ding Yin and Dongfang Yannian, he prepared to look for the two elders of the Chunyang school. Yesterday, Duanling Tian had contacted them, and they had told him where they lived. This allowed Duanling Tian to sort out the matters at hand, then meet up with them and leave. However, to Duanling Tian's surprise, he met someone on the way, who seemed to have been waiting for him. Sect Master? The person who appeared on Duanling Tian's path was none other than the Tianlong clan's sect master, Long Qingchong. Duanling Tian, Long Qingchong looked at Duan Lingtian with a radiant smile on his face. You are the most outstanding disciple in the history of the Tianlong clan. As the Tianlong clan's sect master, I am proud that the Tianlong clan has a disciple like you. You will be bringing glory to the Tianlong clan by going to the Chunyang school. Although the Tianlong clan is only a fallen god emperor level force, we will not be stingy. This is the sect's farewell gift to you. As Long Qingchong spoke, he took out a storage ring and handed it to Duan Lingtian. Sect master. Duan Lingtian frowned slightly. However, just as he opened his mouth, Long Qingchong interrupted him. Duan Lingtian, if you really don't want to accept the sect's gift, then consider it a reward from the sect. You don't need to feel that you owe the sect a favor because of this, Long Qingchong said. That's not what I meant, sect master. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. Although he had not stayed in the Tianlong clan for long, because of the existence of some members of the Tianlong clan and the help he received from many people, including the sect master in front of him, he would definitely not stand by and watch if the Tianlong clan was in trouble in the future. Just now, he had only wanted to politely decline Long Qingchong and the Tianlong clan's kindness. He simply felt that he had already used his contribution points to exchange for almost everything useful to him in the Tianlong clan. Even the second warehouse of the Tianlong clan, which was stored in Peace City, had been purchased by him using his contribution points. The rest of the items were probably of no use to him. Therefore, he might as well give them to someone who needed them more. Chapter 39-31. A favor. Duan Lingtian was taken aback by Long Qingchong's sudden words. After a while, he regained his senses and said with a smile, Please tell me, sect master. As long as it's within my power, I, Duan Lingtian, won't refuse. Although he had only met Long Qingchong a few times, he still remembered how Long Qingchong had taken care of him before they met for the first time. Now that Long Qingchong wanted a favor, he might as well listen. If it was within his power, he would give it to Long Qingchong. Come with me to a place first. Long Qingchong smiled and said, When we arrive, I'll tell you what favor I want from you. Of course, don't be put in a difficult position. If you don't want to, I won't force you. Perhaps Long Qingchong knew that Duan Lingtian was no longer the same as before, but his tone when he spoke to Duan Lingtian was much friendlier compared to the first time they met. Naturally, it was not that he was rude when he first met Duan Lingtian. He was also kind at that time, but not as kind as he was now. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded and followed Long Qingchong. As for the two people from Chunyang School, he also sent a message to inform them that he would be there later to leave the Tianlong clan with them. Then, Duan Lingtian followed Long Qingchong to the place where he had seen Long Qingchong in the past. It was also Long Qingchong's residence and cultivation place. Duan Lingtian saw a middle-aged man here. The middle-aged man was standing in the courtyard and waiting. Although his expression was calm, there was obvious anxiety in his eyes. Sect master, who is this? Duan Lingtian asked curiously after he landed with Long Qingchong. Could the favor Long Qingchong had told him be related to this person? He's Xuemingji, Long Qingchong said bluntly. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian's expression changed when Long Qingchong said the man's name. His pupils constricted. Back then, when the Thousand Devil Sect's inner sect elder Kuang Tianjing tried to kill him, he suspected that it was Xuemingji who forced the other party to attack him. As for the two mid-level god emperors, he suspected that they were Xuemingji's handiwork. So it's vice sect leader Xue. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could roughly guess what kind of favor Long Qingchong was talking about. Long Qingchong was most likely trying to resolve the conflict between him and Xuemingji. Young Master Duan. Hearing the sarcasm in Duan Lingtian's tone, Xuemingji's heart trembled. He immediately squeezed out an awkward smile and respectfully greeted Duan Lingtian. Speak. At this moment, Long Qingchong spoke. He looked at Xuemingji and said calmly. Upon hearing this, Xuemingji took a deep breath. He looked at Duan Lingtian and said, Young Master Duan, the conflict between us started because of my son-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, Xuemingji raised his hand. A head appeared in his hand. Looking at the blood stains on the neck, it was obvious that the person had just died. It was the head of a handsome young man. He's my son-in-law, Zhongcan at first, Duan Lingtian was still frowning. However, when he heard Xue Mingji's words, his expression subtly changed. Although it was his first time meeting Xue Mingji, he knew that Xue Mingji only had one daughter. Moreover, he loved his only son-in-law, Zhongcan, of the Thousand Demon sect, had taken great care of him. I hid it from my daughter and killed him with my own hands. It's because I knew that the appearance of the two mid-divine emperors had something to do with him. Xue Mingji looked at Duan Lingtian and said righteously, "Of course, he doesn't have enough wealth to buy the lives of two mid-divine emperors. Behind this is the Thousand Demon sect. The Thousand Demon sect hates you because of Kuang Tianjing's death. However, some time ago, I went to the Thousand Demon sect under the orders of the sect master. I killed all the higher-ups of the Thousand Demon sect who were related to this matter. Moreover, I killed my son-in-law, Zhongcan, with my own hands. This is also my atonement to you, young Master Duan." After saying that, Xue Mingji, the deputy sect master of the Tianlong clan, knelt down in front of Duan Lingtian and kowtowed 3 times, ignoring the blood flowing from his forehead. "Atonement?" Duan Lingtian looked deeply at Xue Mingji and said, "Deputy sect master Xue, what crime have you committed?" Xue Mingji took a deep breath and said, "Kuang Tianzhang risked his life to attack young Master Duan in the Tianlong clan. To a certain extent, it was because of my instructions." Hearing Xue Mingji's words, Duan Lingtian's face was calm because he had already guessed it. Otherwise, Kuang Tianzhang would not have attacked him in the Tianlong clan. Moreover, the 2 white dragon elders of the Thousand Demon sect did not have the ability to threaten Kuang Tianzhang. Not to mention that they did not have a deep hatred for Duan Lingtian. The relationship between Kuang Tianzhang and Kuang Tianzhang made it impossible for the 2 white dragon elders to threaten Kuang Tianzhang. Therefore, it could only be Xue Mingji. "It seems that Deputy Sect Master Xue really wants me dead," Duan Lingtian said with a smile. "Young Master Duan, I did that because my son-in-law is Kuang Tianjing's disciple. I was afraid that when you grew up in the future, you would hold a grudge and deal with me while dealing with my son-in-law." Xue Mingji said, "I was muddle-headed in this matter. Therefore, I'll kill Zhongcan now and use his death to show my sincerity. I'll sever all ties with the Thousand Demon sect and Kuang Tianzhang. This way, there won't be any conflict between me and you, young Master Duan." Xue Mingji said, "Of course, if young Master Duan insists on killing me, I won't say anything. I only hope that young Master Duan will let my daughter go. She was muddle-headed and wanted to deal with you because of Zhongcan." Xue Mingji's gaze softened when he mentioned his daughter. "Young Master Duan, if you want me dead, the sect master will give the order after my death and say that Zhongcan and I were involved in hiring assassins to kill you, Duan Lingtian. We'll be exiled," Xue Mingji said. Duan Lingtian frowned slightly when he heard this. He then looked at Long Qingchong, the sect master of the Tianlong clan, and asked, "Sect master, the favor you mentioned earlier, is it his life?" "Yes." Long Qingchong nodded. "Xue Mingji's master, my martial uncle, saved my life in the past. If possible, I hope to save his life as well. It can be considered as repaying my martial uncle for saving my life in the past. Of course, if you insist on killing him, I won't blame you. I only hope that you'll do as he said and let his daughter go. I can guarantee that his daughter won't take revenge on you. Of course, if she takes the initiative to take revenge on you, then she deserves it even if she dies in the future. If you spare this Xue Mingji's life today, I can guarantee that he won't do anything to you in the future. Otherwise, I'll kill him myself." Long Qingchong said all his thoughts in one breath. Duan Lingtian's eyes flickered when he heard this. At this instant, Xue Mingji spoke again. "Young Master Duan, there's one more thing. In the past, during the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition, I appeared and sent a voice transmission to threaten you, young Master Duan." Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically when he heard Xue Mingji's words. "It was you?" He still had a deep impression of that threat from back then. However, since Linghu Renjie was fine, he thought it was just a prank. However, after hearing Xue Mingji's words, he knew it was not a prank. However, if it was not a prank, why was Linghu Renjie still alive? Linghu Renjie's soul orb was still in his spatial ring, safe and sound. "It was me." Xue Mingji smiled bitterly. At that time, my daughter was bewitched by Zhong Can. She said that if you obtained the Emperor Ascension Divine Pill, you would be able to enter the Divine Emperor stage very quickly. That's not a good thing for us. Duan Lingtian's expression softened slightly when he heard this. It's nothing. After all, you didn't take any action. You just casually threatened me. In Duan Lingtian's opinion, with Xue Mingji's ability, it would be easy for him to kill Linghu Renjie. However, Linghu Renjie was fine, which meant that he was only threatening him and did not take any action. No. However, to Duan Lingtian's surprise, Xue Mingji shook his head. I took action. What? Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically again. His gaze toward Xue Mingji sharpened in an instant. He could understand why Duan Lingtian wanted to deal with him. However, he could not understand why Duan Lingtian wanted to deal with someone unrelated to him. At the very least, he felt that if it was his enemy, he would not deal with a friend who had no enmity or conflict with him. He could understand what Xue Mingji said earlier, even if it was directed at him. However, what Xue Mingji said now crossed his bottom line. At the same time, Long Qingchong, who was standing to the side, sighed. He had told Xue Mingji about this before. However, he did not have to say it because it might completely enrage Duan Lingtian. Of course, if Duan Lingtian found out the truth in the future and wanted to settle the score, Xue Mingji would definitely be in trouble. Why didn't you succeed in the end? Duan Lingtian asked in a low voice as anger rose in his heart. Xue Mingji took a deep breath when he heard this. It's because a god emperor intervened. A god emperor? Duan Lingtian frowned when he heard Xue Mingji's words. A moment later, a voice flashed in his mind. He remembered the god emperor who appeared in the Tianlong clan not long after he entered the Tianlong clan. Moreover, the other party was obviously not an ordinary god emperor. The other party was able to force the Tianlong clan to withdraw the Great Protective Array. This was something that even Jingshu Elder Jinping fan of the Chunyang school might not be able to do without relying on his identity and background. Yes. Xue Mingji nodded and immediately explained the ins and outs of the matter. Back then, I made an agreement with a Black Dragon Elder. If he killed Linghu Renjie, I would give him a reward. Who knew that he would die in the Linghu family, killed by a god emperor? Later, that god emperor came to the Tianlong clan and taught me a lesson. However, from what she said, it seemed that she did not care if I dealt with you. She just did not allow me to deal with Linghu Renjie and the Linghu family. And because of that, I vented part of my anger on you. At this point, Xue Mingji's face flashed with embarrassment. This god emperor was Linghu Renfeng? Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he asked directly. Chapter 39-32. Young Master Duan, you even know about this? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Xue Mingji's pupil shrank and he turned pale with fright. He never thought that Duan Lingtian would know who the God Emperor expert was. Because according to his investigation, apart from Linghu Renjie, no one in the Linghu family knew that Linghu Renfeng was a God Emperor expert. And Duan Lingtian actually knew. I guessed it. Duan Lingtian seemed to have seen through Xue Mingji's shock and said indifferently. However, his gaze toward Xue Mingji was still unfriendly. This Xue Mingji actually sent the Black Dragon Elder to the Linghu family to kill Linghu Renjie. This had already crossed his bottom line. Sensing Duan Lingtian's increasingly sharp gaze, Xue Mingji's face revealed a bitter smile and his gaze dimmed. He saw through Duan Lingtian's intention. I only hope that young Master Duan can spare my daughter. Xue Mingji sighed because he could see that the person in front of him had no intention of letting him go. As long as she doesn't provoke me, I won't do anything to her, Duan Lingtian said indifferently. What happened next was simple. Xue Mingji's hands were tied as he allowed Duan Lingtian to kill him. The Tianlong clan's clan leader, Long Qingchong, who was standing to the side, didn't say anything because this was one of the two choices he had given Duan Lingtian. Clan leader, I'm sorry. After killing Xue Mingji, Duan Lingtian looked at Long Qingchong and said apologetically, if he hadn't sent someone to kill Linghu Renjie, I could have done you a favor and spared his life. However, his actions have crossed my bottom line. Even if I pretended to agree to spare his life today, when I have enough power in the future, I will definitely kill him. Duan Lingtian's face was full of apologies. I can understand. Long Qingchong nodded. He didn't blame Duan Lingtian. In fact, he even felt that Duan Lingtian's temper was somewhat similar to Duan Lingtian's. If he was Duan Lingtian, he would also make the same choice. Just leave the rest to me, said Lin Yun. Long Qingchong said, You can leave with Elder Zhan. I only hope that after you go to the Pure Sun sect, you can still remember that there was a sect called the Heavenly Dragon sect that had some connection with you. A faint smile appeared on Long Qingchong's face as he spoke. I won't forget it. I won't forget it, Duan Lingtian said solemnly. Following that, Duan Lingtian bid farewell to Long Qingchong and went to look for the two elders of Chunyang School. As Duan Lingtian and the two elders of Chunyang School left the Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong publicly announced a shocking piece of news. We've investigated the origins of the two middle-level divine emperors who killed Duan Lingtian. Vice clan leader Xue Mingji and his son-in-law, Zhong Can, colluded with some people from the Myriad Demon sect to do this. Now, those people from the Myriad Demon sect have been executed, and Xue Mingji and Zhong Can have been executed by the Myriad Demon sect. This matter ends here. However, I still have to give you a piece of advice. If you're in the Tianlong clan, you must abide by the rules of the Tianlong clan. Don't think that we won't be able to find out that you're the one who did it. Don't take any chances. As Long Qingchong announced the news loudly, his voice spread throughout the Tianlong temple. The entire Tianlong clan was in an uproar. No one had expected that the clan leader of the Tianlong clan would suddenly make such an announcement. The two Divine Emperor Death Soldiers who tried to kill Duan Lingtian in the sect are actually related to Vice Sect leader Xue and the Thousand Demon sect? Heavens! That's a death squad. How will the sect find out who did it? I find it strange too. The sects are too scary. They can even find out about this. While the Tianlong clan was in an uproar, some of the people who had similar ideas because Duan Lingtian had been attacked by the Shenhuang men of sacrifice also dispelled the idea. Within the Tianlong clan, it was impossible for everyone to be on good terms with anyone. Some people also had fellow sect members whom they viewed as mortal enemies, just like how Lu Yin had dealt with Xue Haichuan and Xue Haishan before. Normally, it was impossible to make a move on them, but if they could find a death squad, it would be the safest bet. However, after the clan leader of the Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong, announced the news and executed Vice Sect leader Xue Mingji, they didn't dare to take any chances. Father, Brother Can. Originally, Xue Mingji's daughter was still immersed in the shock of her husband Zhong Can's sudden disappearance and the sudden shattering of his soul orb, which meant that he was dead. Then, her father Xue Mingji's soul orb shattered, which made her even more shocked and terrified. For a time, she thought that there was something wrong with her husband and father's soul orbs. Until now, when she heard the Tianlong clan leader's voice, she knew that her father and husband were really dead, executed by the sect. What's going on? How could this be? How could the sect know about this? Aren't we the only ones who know about this? Could it be that father's friend betrayed him? It must be him. It must be him. Also, Brother Can has nothing to do with this. Why was he also executed? Who can tell me what's going on? Just as Xue Mingji's daughter was puzzled, the people sent by the Tianlong clan leader, Long Qingchong, arrived and directly captured her, taking her away from the Tianlong clan. The clan leader has ordered that Xue Mingji is guilty of the most heinous crimes. Since his daughter didn't know anything, he is to be expelled from the sect and never be accepted again. When Xue Mingji's daughter heard this, she finally came back to her senses. I didn't know anything? Could it be Brother Can took the blame for me? Although Duan Lingtian didn't know what happened in the Tianlong clan, he received several messages not long after leaving the Tianlong clan and learned about everything. These messages were from Xue Haichuan, Dongfang Yannian, Ding Yin, and Ho Qingning. Because this matter is related to him, they all informed me in a timely manner. Yes, I understand. Duan Lingtian's response was calm and indifferent. This was because he already knew about this before leaving the Tianlong clan. It could be said that he was the first person to know about this other than Long Qingchong, the clan leader of the Tianlong clan. Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Jingshu Elder Jinping fan of Chunyang School was walking side by side with Duan Lingtian. Originally, Duan Lingtian was politely walking side by side with Qin Wuyang behind Jinping Fan, but Jinping Fan always wanted to chat side by side with him, so he couldn't do anything about it. However, Qin Wuyang always followed behind. He didn't dare to walk side by side with this martial granduncle of his, even though he knew that martial granduncle wouldn't mind. The education he had received since childhood told him that it was a great disrespect. As for Duan Lingtian's behavior, he didn't think much of it. As long as Duan Lingtian didn't become a disciple of the Tianlong clan, he wouldn't be considered to be any different from them in terms of seniority. What do you think? If the Linghu family saw that you gathered 100 million god stones so quickly, what kind of expression would they have? At this moment, Jinping Fan was like a playful child, as if he cared more about this matter than Duan Lingtian. They would probably be very surprised. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. If he didn't know that this elder Jin wasn't young, he would have thought that he was just a child younger than him, who not only liked to cause trouble, but also liked to join in the fun. Should? Only should? Jinping Fan frowned slightly. Duan Lingtian said helplessly, "Of course, they would be very surprised." When Jinping Fan heard this, he beamed with joy. "That's right. This way, I didn't give you 100 million god stones as a gift for our first meeting in vain." It's equivalent to 100 million god stones. Perhaps they would be even more surprised? As he muttered to himself, Jinping Fan's eyes brightened even more. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian really didn't know how to communicate with this elder Jin. Why did he feel that this elder Jin was like a child who hadn't grown up yet? Duan Lingtian turned slightly to look at Qin Wuyang and asked through voice transmission, "Elder Qin, is this elder Jin always like this?" "Also, not really." Qin Wuyang replied through voice transmission, "Martial granduncle is usually quite serious. However, he's more or less the same in front of people he likes and his friends." Martial granduncle is usually in closed-door cultivation in Chunyang School. Even when he's out in the open, he's usually a man of few words and rarely communicates with others. Therefore, when he's quiet, his temperament is actually no different from a young man's. After hearing Qin Wuyang's words, Duan Lingtian finally understood. It turned out that this was a cultivation maniac who rarely interacted with the outside world. But that's fine too. At the very least, it's not tiring to interact with him, and I don't have to be too rigid about etiquette. When he thought of this, Duan Lingtian's lips curled into a smile. He had to admit that it was quite relaxing to be with this god emperor from Chunyang School. The atmosphere was not solemn and silent. Patriarch. Duan Lingtian sent a message to Linghu Renjia as they approached Linghu City, where the Linghu family resided. Duan Lingtian? Linghu Renjia was surprised to receive Duan Lingtian's message. "You've come out of the Emperor Battle Realm?" Before Duan Lingtian had entered the Emperor Battle Realm, they'd exchanged a few words. Therefore, he knew that Duan Lingtian had entered the Emperor Battle Realm. "Sect Master, I'll be arriving at Linghu City immediately," Duan Lingtian said to Linghu Renjia. You've come to Linghu City?" Linghu Renjia was startled at first, then his expression changed slightly. "You left the Tianlong clan so abruptly. Aren't you giving those who want to make a move on you a chance? You're alone?" Although Duan Lingtian hadn't said anything about Duan Lingtian's situation in the Tianlong clan, Linghu Renjia knew a little about it through the Linghu family's connections in the Tianlong clan. There were many members of the Linghu family in the Tianlong clan, and they weren't any fewer than the Myriad Demon sect. Although Duan Lingtian rarely interacted with the members of the Linghu clan, the members of the Linghu clan still knew quite a lot about him. Chapter 39-33. I'm not alone. Hearing the concern and worry in Linghu Renjia's voice, Duan Lingtian's heart warmed. He didn't have time to joke with the other party. "I came with 2 seniors." "Seniors?" Linghu Renjia was startled. "What seniors? Are they the elders of the Tianlong clan?" "No," Duan Lingtian said. "They are the elders of the Chunyang School." "So they are the elders of the Chunyang School." Linghu Renjia subconsciously responded at first. A moment later, when he transmitted again, his tone suddenly changed, full of shock. "Are you talking about the Chunyang School, one of the top 5 god emperor level forces in Tunglung province?" "Yes." Duan Lingtian responded, "You are planning to go to the Chunyang school with them?" Linghu Renjia was well aware of Duan Lingtian's performance in the Tianlong clan after he came to the Tianlong clan. It could be said that he had been paying attention to Duan Lingtian's growth. Every time he heard that Duan Lingtian had entered the Emperor battle plane and killed many greater one-sect disciples, he was happy for Duan Lingtian. And when he heard that Duan Lingtian had been attacked by the inner sect elder of the Thousand Demon sect, Kuang Tianzheng, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat for Duan Lingtian. Especially recently, when he learned that Duan Lingtian had been attacked by 2 God Emperor-level death soldiers in the Tianlong Temple, and 2 middle-level God Emperor-level death soldiers at that, he was even more frightened. 2 middle-level God Emperor-level death soldiers. He could imagine how much danger Duan Lingtian had faced at that time. Even though he knew that Duan Lingtian had escaped again, he still couldn't calm down from the fear in his heart for a long time. Of course, Linghu Renjia also heard that the top 5 God Emperor-level forces in Tunglung province had extended an olive branch to Duan Lingtian. He knew that Duan Lingtian would join one of them sooner or later. Now that Duan Lingtian had returned to Linghu City and the Linghu family, there were 2 people from the Chunyang school with him. It seemed that he was also planning to leave the Tianlong clan. "I'll come out to welcome you." After Linghu Renjia said those words, he flew out from the Linghu clan's mansion. After that, he loudly shouted and his voice spread throughout the entire Linghu clan's mansion. "Elders, follow me to welcome the 2 seniors from the Pure Sun sect." Chunyang school. Even though Linghu Renjia was no longer the head of the Linghu family, when they heard that people from the Chunyang school were coming, all the Linghu family elders' pupils shrank, and their faces were filled with disbelief as they followed him out. Based on their understanding of Linghu Renjia, they knew that Linghu Renjia wouldn't speak without thinking. Chunyang school? Could it be the Chunyang school, one of the top 5 God Emperor-level forces in Tunglung province? It should be the Chunyang school. Although the Chunyang school and the Tianlong clan are both God Emperor-level forces, in terms of status, the Tianlong clan can't compare. Why would the big shots from there come to our Linghu family? At the same time, the other members of the Linghu family were also shocked. The people of Linghu City. On this day, a group of people could be seen flying out from the Linghu family's residence, then flying in the opposite direction of Linghu City. Not long after, this group of people formed a line outside Linghu City, with Linghu Renjia at the head. "Hero, why would the seniors from the Chunyang school come?" Now, it wasn't just the ordinary elders of the Linghu family who had arrived. Even the ancestors of the Linghu family, such as Linghu Zhengxing, Linghu Hong, and Linghu Huan, had arrived. The person who asked Linghu Renjia was Linghu Zhengxing. They came back with Duan Lingtian. Linghu Renjia sighed and said, "Duan Lingtian will be going to the Chunyang school with the 2 seniors soon. I really didn't expect that the little guy who performed so well in our Linghu family back then would be going to a big shot like the Chunyang school today." As Linghu Renjia's voice fell, the eyes of Linghu Zhengxing, Linghu Hong, and Linghu Huan all lit up. They had more contact with Duan Lingtian, so when they learned that Duan Lingtian would be going to the Chunyang school, they were all happy for Duan Lingtian. As for the other elders of the Linghu clan, they looked at each other with complicated expressions on their faces. At that time, it was precisely because Linghu Renjia had taken care of Duan Lingtian that the Linghu family lost a lot of divine stone mines that they joined forces to dismiss Linghu Renjia. Later, Duan Lingtian made a bet with them, saying that he would repay them 100 million divine stones within 100 years. Now, only a few decades had passed since the 100-year bet was set, and it was still a long way from the deadline. However, when they heard about Duan Lingtian's performance in the Tianlong clan again and again, they all regretted it. They regretted that they dismissed Duan Lingtian because of how much Linghu Renjia valued and took care of Duan Lingtian. It was also because of this that Duan Lingtian rarely interacted with the Linghu family after he went to the Tianlong clan. Now that they knew that Duan Lingtian would be going to the Chunyang school, they couldn't help but send telepathic messages to each other, discussing whether they should cancel the bet and let Linghu Renjia return to being an elder of the Linghu family. They didn't want the Linghu family to lose the care of a genius with amazing potential like Duan Lingtian for a mere 100 million divine stones. Once the bet was completed, Duan Lingtian would only take care of Linghu Renjia in the future, and might not take care of the Linghu family. Let's all discuss this. When Duan Lingtian arrives, we'll tell him that we'll cancel the bet ourselves. From now on, Linghu Renjia will return to being the head of the Linghu family until he doesn't want to be. Seconded. Seconded. Whether it was the Linghu family elders present, or the Linghu family elders who weren't present but had received the news that Duan Lingtian would be going to the Chunyang school, all of them supported the idea of canceling the bet and no longer made things difficult for Duan Lingtian and Linghu Renjia. 100 million divine stones might have a significant impact on the Linghu family, but it wasn't to the point where it would hurt them to the core. In exchange for the care of a god emperor less than 3,000 years old, it was worth it. Now, the other party was only a lower god emperor, but he had the ability to kill 2 middle god emperors, and his strength was comparable to the Tianlong clan's new white dragon elder. What about in the future? He wasn't even 3,000 years old. Perhaps by the time he was 10,000 years old, he would have broken through and become an emperor god? An emperor god? When they thought about the possibility of an emperor god emerging from the Linghu family, they felt a rush of heat in their heads. They felt that no matter what, they couldn't make things difficult for Duan Lingtian. Now, in their eyes, Duan Lingtian was already a quasi-emperor god. They're here. Linghu Renjia's eyes were sharp, and he was the first to spot the 3 people who were flying over at a steady pace. The purple figure in the lead of the 2 people was all too familiar to him. I wonder. These 2 from Chunyang School are some elders of Chunyang School. As far as I know, Chunyang School's elders have a clear hierarchy. Elder Yushu, who ranks 3rd, is comparable to Elder Jinlong of the Tianlong clan. He's a top existence among god emperors. I've heard of this too. However, these 2 elders of Chunyang School, even if only one of them is Elder Lingshu of Chunyang School, it's enough to see how important Duan Lingtian is to Chunyang School. Yes, Elder Lingshu of Chunyang School is no weaker than Elder He Long of the Tianlong clan. It can't be Elder Lingshu, can it? Even if it's not Elder Lingshu, Elder Qingshu alone is comparable to Elder White Dragon of the Tianlong clan. He's a leader among middle-level god emperors. Even in the current generation of our Linghu family, only 2 elders of the Tianlong clan are Elders White Dragon. A group of Linghu family elders began to whisper at this time. However, when Duan Lingtian and the other 2 people approached, they all fell silent. Linghu Renjia greets the 2 seniors of Chunyang School. After Duan Lingtian and the other 2 people approached, Linghu Renjia spoke first and bowed respectfully at the same time. Linghu Zhengxing greets the 2 seniors. After Linghu Renjia, Linghu Zhengxing and the others also spoke one after another and bowed respectfully to the 2 people who came with Duan Lingtian. After they finished bowing, Duan Lingtian and the other 2 people also came in front of them. Family head. Seeing Linghu Renjia again, Duan Lingtian smiled brightly. I'm no longer the head of the Linghu family. Linghu Renjia had forgotten how many times he had corrected Duan Lingtian for calling him that, but Duan Lingtian seemed to have forgotten every time. Many of the Linghu family's elders wanted to say that they would allow Linghu Renjia to return to the position of the Linghu family's patriarch. However, when they saw the 2 people from the Pure Sun sect, they didn't say anything. In front of the 2 experts from Chunyang School, they were not qualified to speak. In this world where the strong were respected, they knew their place. In my heart, you'll always be the head of the Linghu family, Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Then, Duan Lingtian looked at Linghu Zhengxing and Elder Heng Huan and greeted them with a smile. He still remembered how the 3 of them took care of him in the past. The 3 of them also smiled and nodded at Duan Lingtian, but soon, their eyes fell on the young man beside Duan Lingtian. This young man had an extraordinary temperament and was obviously not an ordinary person. Duan Lingtian, introduce us to the 2 seniors from Chunyang School. Linghu Renjia looked politely at the young man beside Duan Lingtian and the old man behind him and said with a smile. Duan Lingtian nodded and then looked at Qin Wuyang behind him. This is Elder Qin Wuyang from Chunyang School. Qin Wuyang. As soon as Duan Lingtian spoke, Linghu Renjia and the others did not react, but Linghu Zhengxing and Elder Heng Huan's expressions changed instantly. This was because this name was like thunder to them. When they were young, Qin Wuyang, the prodigy of Chunyang School, was famous throughout Tunglung province. At that time, Qin Wuyang was one of the 10 prodigies of Chunying School's younger generation. Now, Qin Wuyang was a high-level divine emperor and elder Lingxiu of Chunying School. Could it be? Elder Lingxiu of Chunying School, Elder Qin Wuyang? Linghu Zhengxing looked at Qin Wuyang excitedly, his voice trembling. Elder Lingxiu of Chunying School. Linghu Renjie and the other elders of the Linghu family were completely stunned. Elder Lingxiu? Wasn't that someone from Chunying School whose strength was comparable to Elder He Long of the Tianlong clan? As far as they knew, Elder Lingxiu of Chunying School were all high-level divine emperors. The old man in front of them, who was following Duan Lingtian and another expert from Chunying School, was Elder Lingxiu of Chunying School? Was this a joke? Elder Zhengxing must have made a mistake, right? Impossible, right? How is this possible? How is this possible? Chapter 39-34. In fact, an elder of the spirit void realm did not have a strong presence in Chunying School, and even less so in Tunglung Province. However, because Qin Wuyang belonged to one of the more powerful factions in Chunying School, even though he was only an elder of the spirit void realm, he was more famous than the average elder of the Chunying School. Even so, in Tunglung Province, Qin Wuyang, an elder of the Chunying School, was not really famous. At least, Linghu Renjie and most of the elders of the Linghu family had never heard of Qin Wuyang. That was because their understanding of the experts of the Chunying School was limited to those who had become famous in recent years, as well as those who were the pillars of the Chunying School. For example, the Emperor God experts. Of course, not all of the Emperor God experts of the Chunying School were famous. Most of them were very unfamiliar to the people of Tunglung Province, and they were not well known in Tunglung Province. Those who were known to the public were basically those who were deliberately exposed by the Chunying School. Even in the Chunying School, there were not many Emperor God experts, especially the powerful ones, who were the trump cards of the Chunying School. Not only had the people of Tunglung Province not heard of them, but even many people in the Chunying School had not heard of them. However, Linghu Renjie and the others had not heard of Qin Wuyang. But that did not mean that Linghu Zhengxing, Linghu Hong, and Linghu Huan had not heard of him. Qin Wuyang was about the same age as them, and he was a figure of the same generation as them. When they were young, they had worshipped Qin Wuyang as their idol. Today, after seeing this legendary idol with their own eyes, their blood, which had been silent for many years due to old age, seemed to be boiling again. Little Yang Yang, I truly did not expect that there would be someone from a small God King clan that knows of you. When Linghu Zhengxing finished speaking, Qin Wuyang revealed a surprised expression. He didn't expect that there would be people here who knew him. Jin Pingfan, who was standing beside Duan Lingtian, smiled and said, "It seems that you didn't lie to me. You are quite famous outside." In the past, Qin Wuyang had mentioned it many times in front of Jin Pingfan. He was quite famous outside of Chunying School. However, Jin Pingfan did not believe him at all. As soon as Jin Pingfan finished speaking, he seemed to have thought of something. With a suspicious look on his face, he asked, "But, could it be that you asked Duan Lingtian to ask them to put on this show with you?" Upon hearing Zhan Pingfan's words, not only was Qin Wuyang dumbfounded, but even Duan Lingtian was taken aback. He smiled wryly and said, "Elder Zhan, Elder Qin did not ask me to do that." At this moment, Linghu Zhengxing and the other two elders were also stunned when they heard the young man beside Duan Lingtian address Qin Wuyang. In their eyes, the wise and powerful elder spirit void of Chunying School, Qin Wuyang, was actually called Little Yang Yang by this young man. Was this really the idol they had worshipped when they were young? For a moment, the three of them looked at Qin Wuyang with suspicion. At the same time, Duan Lingtian looked at Linghu Zhengxing with a smile and said, "Elder Zhengxing, the person behind me is indeed Elder Spirit Void of Chunying School, Elder Qin Wuyang. However, I wonder how you know him?" In Duan Lingtian's opinion, Elder Spirit Void did not have much of a presence in Chunying School. It was even more so in Tunglung Province. Is it really Elder Spirit Void, Elder Qin Wuyang? After obtaining confirmation from Duan Lingtian, Linghu Zhengxing's eyes shone brightly as he said, "When I was young, Elder Qin Wuyang was also young. At that time, he was one of the top 10 prodigies among the younger generation in Chunying School. He was a dazzling figure. Although I've never seen him before, his reputation was like thunder to people of the same generation as me. Let's not talk about the others. Ling Hu Hong, Ling Hu Huan, and I grew up listening to his stories. He was the idol of many people in our generation. As soon as Ling Hu Zhengxing finished speaking, Duan Lingtian was enlightened when he saw the excitement in elders Hung and Huan's eyes. So that was how it was. As people of the same generation, an elder Qin Wuyang was one of the top 10 prodigies among the younger generation in Chunyang School. It was normal for him to know about it. After a few generations, perhaps no one would pay attention to it anymore. The top 10 prodigies. It feels like a very long time ago. When he heard Ling Hu Zhengxing's words, Qin Wuyang could not help but sigh. Time makes people grow old. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of years have passed. However, among the so-called 10 great prodigies from back then, there are only 3 other people besides me who are still alive. Qin Wuyang sighed. What? Ling Hu Zhengxing's expression changed when he heard Qin Wuyang's words. Elder Qin, Chunyang School is one of the top 5 God-Emperor forces in Tunglung Province. Who would dare to kill a prodigy from Chunyang School? Qin Wuyang smiled faintly. Chunyang School is only slightly stronger in Tunglung Province. It's just so outside. Then, as if he had thought of something, Qin Wuyang looked at the back of the young man in front of him again. The person beside Duan Lingtian is my martial granduncle, Elder Jing Su, an Elder Zhen of Chunyang School. Qin Wuyang said. As soon as Qin Wuyang finished speaking, Ling Hu Zhengxing's pupils suddenly shrank, and his breathing seemed to have stopped in the next moment. Elders Hong and Huan, as well as Ling Hu Renjie and the others, were all dumbfounded at this time. They were completely stunned. Elder Jing Su of Chunyang School? The Pure Sun sect's Jing Su elders seem to all be God-Emperor powerhouses without exception, right? Emperor gods? When Ling Hu Renjie and the others' gazes fell on Zhen Pingfan again, they were so scared that their legs began to tremble. Emperor gods were the top existences in Tunglong Province. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were existences who could summon clouds and rain with a flip of their hand. For such existences, a casual breath from them could probably turn the entire Ling Hu family, or even the entire Ling Hu city into ashes. Greetings, Elder Zhen. In the end, Ling Hu Zhengxing was the first to recover from his shock. He respectfully bowed to Zhen Pingfan, but at the same time, his forehead was already sweating. Even the 2 elders, Hong and Huan, who were following behind Xingli, were no exception. Ling Hu Renjie also quickly came back to his senses and hurriedly bowed to Zhen Pingfan. His current state was the best among the Ling Hu clan's people. This was because his sister, Ling Hu Renfeng, was also an emperor god. As someone who had come into contact with emperor gods before, he naturally did not lose his composure like Ling Hu Zhengxing and the others. As for the group of Ling Hu family elders, many of them were so scared that they staggered and almost lost their divine power and fell down. Greetings, Elder Zhen. Greetings, Elder Zhen. In the face of the greetings from the Ling Hu family, Zhen Pingfan frowned slightly and glared at Qin Wuyang at the same time. This time, he came with Duan Lingtian mainly to watch the show. But now, it seemed to be his home ground. This was not what he wanted. Duan Lingtian, follow them back to the Ling Hu family and get down to business. Zhen Pingfan looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled. Okay. Duan Lingtian nodded and then looked at Ling Hu Renjie. Patriarch, please gather the elders of the Ling Hu family elders. Now, let's go back to the family and wait for them to arrive. Although he did not know what Duan Lingtian wanted to do, Ling Hu Renjie hurriedly agreed after seeing the 2 elders of the Chunyang School, especially Zhen Pingfan, the Chunyang School's Jingshu elder, who was an emperor god. Then, Ling Hu Renjie and the others escorted Duan Lingtian and the other 2 to the Ling Hu family mansion and entered. Around the Ling Hu family mansion, a group of disciples patrolling the Ling Hu family was shocked when they saw the scene in front of them. The patriarch and the patriarch are actually following behind them respectfully. The 2 people beside Duan Lingtian are from the Chunyang School. I don't know if there's a medium-level godly emperor among the 2 strong cultivators of the Pure Sun sect. Even if there aren't, they are at least low-level divine emperors. Even so, their status in the outside world is not inferior to the White Dragon Elder and Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan, which are emperor god-level sections. Duan Lingtian and the other two, as well as Linghu Renjia, walked into the Linghu family's meeting hall. Soon after, more and more elders of the Linghu family rushed back from all over Linghu City, as well as the surrounding areas. When they learned that the emperor gods of the Chunyang school had arrived and asked them to return, they were all excited. They immediately put down what they were doing and rushed back. Emperor gods. I never thought that the Linghu family would one day come into contact with one. Elder Jing Su of the Chunyang school is a legendary figure. I never thought that I would be lucky enough to meet him. Meeting Elder Jing Su of the Chunyang school this time is enough for me to brag about for the rest of my life. In about half a day, almost all of the Linghu family elders who were in or around Linghu City had rushed back. These Linghu family elders accounted for more than 90% of the Linghu family elders of the current generation. Apart from those elders who have gone to faraway places for business, the rest of the elders have all rushed back. They represent the entire council of elders. Linghu Renjia said to Duan Lingtian, "Good." Duan Lingtian nodded in response. At this time, the group of elders who had rushed over from behind the Linghu family bowed respectfully to Jin Pingfan and Qin Wuyang. Their gazes also fell on Duan Lingtian. At this moment, their gazes were very complicated. At the same time, they thought about how they had dismissed Linghu Renjia and agreed to Duan Lingtian's bed in order to make it easier for Linghu Renjia to enter the Chamber of Laws and consume the divine stones. They were extremely regretful. If they had known Duan Lingtian would end up like this, they would not even bat an eyelid, even if they had to lose the divine stones that could hurt the Linghu clan, let alone losing the divine stones that were not enough to hurt the Linghu clan. Elders. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian took a step forward and tossed his spatial ring out. In the next instant, whoosh, whoosh, a large number of sparkling divine crystals filled with rich heaven and earth spirit chi were scattered in the conference hall as if they were free. In the blink of an eye, half of the conference hall was covered. Chapter 39-35. In the blink of an eye, the divine crystals had piled up into a small mountain. Elders. While the Linghu family elders were stunned by the scene before them, Duan Lingtian spoke in a clear voice, "There are more than 1,000,000 divine crystals here. Even if converted to divine stones according to the normal ratio, it would still be more than 100 million divine stones. I, Duan Lingtian, have fulfilled the bet from back then. Now, I hope that you will fulfill your end of the bargain." As Duan Lingtian spoke, his gaze turned sharp as it swept across the Linghu family elders. Duan Lingtian, it did not cross Linghu Renjia's mind that Duan Lingtian had summoned the group of elders from the Linghu clan because of him. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had directly taken out 1,000,000 divine crystals. The value of so many divine crystals far exceeded that of divine stones. At the very least, in Tunglong province, if you offered 100 million divine stones, no one would be willing to exchange 1,000,000 divine crystals with you. Divine crystals were much rarer than divine stones, and were even rarer. For a moment, Linghu Renjia looked at Duan Lingtian with gratitude in his eyes, but at the same time, there were also many complicated emotions. In the beginning, he had taken care of Duan Lingtian because he had high hopes for Duan Lingtian's future. He felt that even if he invested in Duan Lingtian, he would not lose out, and might even make a huge profit in the future. Later, after interacting with Duan Lingtian and gaining a better understanding of Duan Lingtian, he truly admired this young man. He also felt that he should do everything within his power to help him. Moreover, during this process, he also saw that Duan Lingtian was definitely the kind of person who clearly distinguished between gratitude and grudges. Later on, because of Duan Lingtian, he was stripped of his position as head of the Linghu family, but he did not complain because he felt that what he did was from the bottom of his heart, and there was nothing to regret. In fact, even if he was given a chance to start all over again, he would still do the same. Later on, his younger sister, Linghu Renfeng, returned. Only then did he find out that apart from Linghu Chuyin, he had another niece. And that niece was Duan Lingtian's wife. Duan Lingtian was suddenly related to him. Duan Lingtian was his niece-in-law, and it was the closest kind. He was the son-in-law of Linghu Renjia's younger sister. Under such circumstances, he didn't regret what he had done for Duan Lingtian. This was because he was his sister's family, and also Linghu Renjie's family. You don't have to do this. Linghu Renjie smiled bitterly and said, actually, it's just as I told you before. After being the head of the Linghu family for so many years, I'm also tired. Now that I finally have some free time, I can properly cultivate. For me, this is a good thing, not a bad thing. I'm afraid you borrowed these divinity crystals from the seniors in Chunyang School, right? Return them. In the future, when you have the ability to do so, you can return the divinity crystals to the Linghu family. Even if I, Linghu Renjie, can no longer be the head of the Linghu family after 100 years, I will still owe you a favor. As for now, there's really no need. As Linghu Renjie spoke, he glanced at Zhen Pingfan, who was standing beside Duan Lingtian, sizing up the elders of the Linghu family with great interest. Obviously, he had also guessed the origin of Duan Lingtian's divinity crystals. In fact, even the head of the Tianlong clan himself would find it difficult to take out such a large amount of divinity crystals in one go. Not to mention Duan Lingtian, who was only an inner disciple of the Tianlong clan. After the elders of the Linghu family recovered from their shock, they looked at each other in dismay. After a moment, they completely sobered up and smiled bitterly. In the past, when Duan Lingtian took out so many divinity crystals to return to them, they would only be happy and feel that the family had profited greatly. But now, they were not happy at all. This was because they all knew that once they accepted this batch of divinity crystals, everything would change. In the future, Duan Lingtian would no longer care about the good of the Linghu family. He would only care about Linghu Renjie as a person. Even if Linghu Renjie became the head of the Linghu family again in the future, he would no longer have the slightest sense of belonging to the Linghu family. Just as the elders of the Linghu family were about to recommend two elders to come out and talk to Duan Lingtian, Zhen Pingfan suddenly spoke up. Zhen Fanfan, the pure Sun Sect's Jing Su elder who had been watching the show, looked at Linghu Renjie and said, "These divine crystals are a welcome gift to Duan Lingtian on behalf of the pure Sun Sect. He didn't borrow them. You can rest assured about this," Zhen Pingfan said. As soon as Zhen Pingfan said this, not only Linghu Renjie, but all the elders of the Linghu family felt their hearts tremble. A welcome gift to the sect? For Duan Lingtian? They were not surprised that the Chunyang School would be so generous. After all, the Chunyang School was one of the 5 most powerful God Emperor forces in Tunglung Province. It had the best cultivation environment and resources in Tunglung Province. However, to give Duan Lingtian, a newcomer who was just about to enter the sect, such a big gift was something to be patiently pondered over. In the eyes of the Chunyang School, Duan Lingtian was actually so valuable. However, the elders of the Linghu family did not know that under normal circumstances, the Chunyang School would never give Duan Lingtian such a large sum of divine gems as a welcome gift. This welcome gift was completely extorted by Zhen Pingfan, an elder of the Chunyang School, by relying on his advantages and privileges in the Chunyang School. The current sect master of the Chunyang School was his junior brother, and he was the one who taught and raised him. Moreover, the two of them had gone through many life and death situations together. The relationship between them was closer than that of biological brothers. It was also because of this that Qin Wuyang had previously told Deng Kue, the silver puppet elder of Tao Villa in the Qingzhou prefecture, that the Chunyang School sect master regarded Zhen Pingfan as both a brother and a father. Elders. Duan Lingtian looked at the elders of the Linghu family and glanced at their complicated expressions one by one. Since this sum of divine gems has arrived, shouldn't you fulfill your promise? Duan Lingtian repeated what he had said earlier. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, the elder who had been elected by the elders of the Linghu family immediately stepped forward. He was an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion who was wearing a light green robe. He looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled bitterly. Duan Lingtian, when we agreed to the bet back then, it was actually just because the elders of the Linghu family wanted to motivate you. Even though Linghu Renjie was removed from the position of head of the family, it was also to motivate you. But, for the past few decades, the Linghu family has not had a new head of the family, right? Let's not talk about that bet anymore. It's best that you keep these divine gems for yourself. Whether it's for cultivation or as a currency for transactions in the future, they will be of great help to you. As for Linghu Renjie, From today onwards, he will return to the position of head of the family. This was also the unanimous decision of the elders of the family. Duan Lingtian was stunned by the words of the Linghu family elder. He had never imagined that the elders of the Linghu family would nominate a Linghu family elder to make such a statement. All of this was to motivate him, including removing Linghu Renjie from the position of head of the family and agreeing to his bet? Why did he remember that this was not the case back then? The elders of the Linghu family seemed to have removed Linghu Renjie from the position of head of the family without him knowing. In addition, hadn't he been the one to propose the 100 million divine gems promise of 100 years? Could it be that the elders of the Linghu family had agreed to his 100 years promise to motivate him? At this moment, not only Duan Lingtian, but even Linghu Renjie, Linghu Zhengxing, and elders Heng Huan couldn't help but twitch their mouths. These old fellows from the elders of the family were really good at making excuses. As for why the old fellows from the Linghu family had suddenly changed their mind, it wasn't hard to guess the reason. They didn't want Duan Lingtian to leave the Linghu family. Of course, when they said leave, they didn't mean leave physically, but mentally. If the elders of the Linghu family accepted this batch of divine gems from Duan Lingtian, even if Duan Lingtian didn't hate the Linghu family because of Linghu Renjie, he definitely wouldn't feel a sense of belonging to the Linghu family. In the future, if the Linghu family were to face a great calamity, Duan Lingtian would probably only save Linghu Renjie. He might not even care about the Linghu family. These old fellows are really thick-skinned, Linghu Renjie thought to himself. He still remembered that these old fellows had forcefully removed him from the position of head of the family in the ancestral shrine. At that time, they hadn't said that it was to motivate Duan Lingtian. He hadn't expected them to say that everything they had done decades ago was for the good of Duan Lingtian. This, even Qin Wuyang, elder Lingshu of Chunyang School, was flabbergasted. He was the clearest about the 100-year pact between Duan Lingtian and the Linghu clan's Council of Elders because he had tried to find out more about Duan Lingtian. It was to the extent that even his martial granduncle, Zhan Pingfan, found out about this through him. That's right. It was all to motivate Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, you have to understand our good intentions. If you are unhappy about this, you can vent it on me. I can be your punching bag. Duan Lingtian, keep these divine gems. Although they are precious, they are not as helpful to the Linghu family as they are to you. That's right. Moreover, Duan Lingtian, you're a member of our Linghu clan, so you ought to have better resources to enjoy. The group of elders of the Linghu family spoke up one after another. None of them had any intention of taking the divine gems that had piled up into a mountain on the ground. Duan Lingtian, the elder of the Linghu family, who had been elected to represent them, spoke up again. If you feel apologetic, you can take this batch of divine gems as a return to the Linghu family, and the Linghu family will give it to you as a gift. You are the first genius in the history of the Linghu family to enter Chunyang School. You deserve this gift. Chapter 39-36. Duan Lingtian could be considered to have seen through the thoughts of the group of Linghu clan elders. Moreover, the persistence of this group of people was completely out of his expectations. They seemed to think that if he did not accept the divine crystals, he would be disrespecting them and the Linghu family. Where was the attitude of blaming Linghu Renjie for allowing Duan Lingtian access to the secret chamber of laws? When they saw that Duan Lingtian seemed to be unwilling to accept them, the Linghu clan's council of elders shifted their attention to Linghu Renjie. One by one, they sent voice transmissions to Linghu Renjie. Clan leader, what happened that year was because we had eyes but failed to see and looked down upon Duan Lingtian. Ask him to accept these divine crystals. Patriarch, if Duan Lingtian doesn't accept these divine crystals, we won't be able to rest easy. The Linghu family elders, who had been overbearing in the past, transmitted their voices to Linghu Renjie with a hint of pleading in their voices. Linghu Renjie sighed inwardly. He knew that the Linghu family elders were only acting this way because they had taken a liking to Duan Lingtian, who was about to become a student of Chunyang School, and would be of great benefit to the Linghu family. To be honest, he really hoped that the Linghu family would accept these divine crystals. That way, they would be able to write things off and have fewer fetters. But now, When he thought about how these elders had given up, they were still doing it for the good of the Linghu family, so he softened his heart. Duan Lingtian, accept them. Linghu Rinjie smiled at Duan Lingtian. The family will accept these divine crystals, but now, the family will give them to you as a gift for you entering Chunyang school. Just as Elder Qi said, you are the first person in the history of the Linghu family to enter Chunyang school, so you deserve this treatment. As he spoke, Linghu Rinjie transmitted his voice to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, with your intelligence, it won't be difficult for you to see what these old fellows are thinking. They just want to tie you to the Linghu family so that they can enjoy all the privileges you bring to them in the future. They might even ask for your help at a critical moment to contribute to the family. If you don't accept these divine crystals today, I'm afraid that they will have other intentions, so accept them. Even if you accept them, I can guarantee that no one in the Linghu family will use your name to cause trouble in the future. When he heard Linghu Rinjie's voice transmission, Duan Lingtian was able to discern the helplessness within his tone. Presumably, the group of elders in the Linghu clan's elder council were pressuring him as well. In the end, Duan Lingtian accepted the divine crystals. In that case, many thanks to the elders. In the future, even if I, Duan Lingtian, go to Chunyang school, I will always remember that I, Duan Lingtian, came from the Linghu family. Duan Lingtian said. The group of elders from the Linghu clan's council of elders were waiting for this exact sentence from Duan Lingtian. When they heard what Duan Lingtian said, they beamed with joy, and then they repeatedly congratulated Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, congratulations on entering Chunyang school. Duan Lingtian, you will become the pride of the Linghu family by entering Chunyang school. If that kid in my family can be even 1/10,000th as good as you, Duan Lingtian, I will wake up laughing in my dreams. After Duan Lingtian put away the mountain of millions of divine crystals, the attitude of the Linghu family elders changed. They were all full of enthusiasm, as if they were Duan Lingtian's family. Although Duan Lingtian felt that this was realistic, he also knew that this was all due to the circumstances. Perhaps, if he were in the shoes of these Linghu family elders and encountered the same situation, he would also make the same choice. Just as Linghu Rinjie said, even if these Linghu family elders had some selfish motives, they were still doing it for the good of the Linghu family. They were all smart people, and they knew that as long as the Linghu family was good, they and their descendants would be better off. At this moment, seeing the faces of the Linghu family elders, Jingshu elder Jinping fan of Chunyang school shook his head. He had wanted to see Duan Lingtian ruthlessly slap these Linghu family elders in the face. However, he did not expect that not only did they not care about Duan Lingtian's slap, they even put their faces forward and let Duan Lingtian slap them. In the end, they even moved closer to Duan Lingtian like a bootlicker. Zhang Pingfan spent most of his life on cultivation and had little contact with other people, so he was full of curiosity about many things. However, the scene in front of him subverted his personal understanding. In this regard, he was even inferior to his junior grandnephew, Qin Wuyang. At least now, Qin Wuyang looked at the scene in front of him with a calm expression, as if he had already guessed that this would be the outcome. Family head, I have something to talk to you about in private. Duan Lingtian transmitted his voice to Linghu Rinjie, the two elders of Chunyang school. Please make the arrangements. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian transmitted his voice to Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang. Qin Wuyang responded immediately, and after seeing the result, Jinping Fan felt that it was meaningless to continue staying here, so he quickly responded as well. Elders, I have something to say to Duan Lingtian in private, so you can all leave now. Linghu Rinjie was now the head of the Linghu family again. At his command, the group of Linghu family elders stared at Duan Lingtian with some reluctance before they left one after another. Three ancestors, the two elders of Chunyang school, please make the arrangements. Then, Linghu Rinjie greeted Linghu Zhengxing and the two elders of Honghuan, and finally looked at Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang. Elders, if you have any needs in the Linghu family, the Linghu family will do its best to help you as soon as possible. Then, Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang left with Linghu Zhengxing and the other two elders. For a moment, only Duan Lingtian and Linghu Rinjie were left in the large meeting hall. Duan Lingtian, I didn't expect that after a few decades, you would be going to Chunyang school. Ling Hu Renjie sighed. Duan Lingtian smiled. Sect leader, don't make fun of me. As far as I know, your sister is not only an Emperor God expert, but she is also not an ordinary Emperor God expert. Even in the pure Sun sect, her strength might be above Elder Jingxiu. Your psychological endurance should be much stronger than others, right? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Ling Hu Renjie's face suddenly froze. You, how did you know? Ling Hu Renjie was surprised. This was because his sister, Ling Hu Renfeng, had told him not to tell Duan Lingtian about some things, including the fact that she was a divine emperor. But he didn't expect that when he saw Duan Lingtian again, Duan Lingtian would say it himself. Sect leader, why didn't you tell me that the Tianlong clan's elder Black Dragon came to the Ling Hu family to kill you? Duan Lingtian asked seriously when he spoke again. Even now, he still cared about this matter. That was because he was the reason why Ling Hu Renjie was in such a dangerous situation. You know all about it? Ling Hu Renjie smiled bitterly. I didn't tell you back then because I didn't want you to worry. Besides, I'm not in any danger, right? By the way, how did you know that my sister is an Emperor God expert? Ling Hu Renjie asked. The Tianlong clan's deputy sect leader, Xue Mingji, said it. Duan Lingtian said, back then, after your sister killed the Tianlong clan's elder Black Dragon who wanted to kill you, she went to the Tianlong clan and taught Xue Mingji a lesson. That time, her actions were not small, and even forced the Tianlong clan to shut down the Great Sect Protection Array. Even the Tianlong clan's elder Jingxiu might not be able to do that with her strength alone. Duan Lingtian still remembered that when Ling Hu Renfeng went to the Tianlong clan and forced the Tianlong clan to shut down the Great Sect Protection Array, she did not rely on her status or background, but on her strength alone. He even suspected that Ling Hu Renfeng might be in existence above a middle god emperor. Xue Mingji? Ling Hu Renjie frowned. Obviously, he did not expect that the other party would expose his sister. He's already dead, Duan Lingtian said. When Ling Hu Renjie heard Duan Lingtian's words, he was shocked at first, but then he thought of the treatment Duan Lingtian received from the Chunyang school today and felt relieved. With the Chunyang school as his backing, a mere Tianlong clan's deputy sect leader was nothing. Sect leader. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian's face turned serious, and he looked at Ling Hu Renjie with a solemn expression. Where is your sister now? You want to find her and ask about Chuyin? Ling Hu Renjie asked. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. This matter, if he did not get to the bottom of it, he would not be satisfied. After she went to the Tianlong clan, she took Chuyin and left the Xinjiang land. Ling Hu Renjie sighed and said, they left from the dimensional battlefield. Duan Lingtian's face changed slightly when he heard this. However, when he heard Ling Hu Renjie's words, his face relaxed again. But, I've asked her about the resemblance between Chuyin and your wife. Ling Hu Renjie said. What did she say? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. Chuyin is not your wife. Ling Hu Renjie said bluntly. Not? Hearing Ling Hu Renjie's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes that had lit up and his face that could not hide the excitement instantly froze. After a moment, he came back to his senses, and his face was full of disbelief. How could it be? How could it not be? Are there really so many coincidences? After muttering to himself, Duan Lingtian still asked somewhat unwillingly, Sect leader, are you sure she said that Ling Hu Chuyin is not my wife? I'm sure. Ling Hu Renjie nodded. At the same time, his brows slightly furrowed, as if he wanted to say something but stopped. This was a completely subconscious action. Although it only appeared for a moment and then disappeared, it was still seen through by Duan Lingtian. Sect leader, are you still hiding something from me? Facing Duan Lingtian's burning gaze and that slightly anxious expression, Ling Hu Renjie sighed. Although Chuyin is not your wife, I've also heard about your wife's current situation. Situation? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Ker's current situation? What happened to Ker? Sect leader, my wife? What's her current situation? Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, and an ominous premonition faintly rose in his heart. Chapter 39-37. Duan Lingtian's heart trembled. His expression became extremely solemn in an instant. Judging from Ling Hu Renjie's tone, Ker's situation didn't seem to be very good. Faced with Duan Lingtian's questioning, Ling Hu Renjie sighed again. As for the specifics, even from my own point of view, I don't really want to tell you. Because, with your current strength, even if you know, you can't do anything about it. Renfeng brought Chuyin back this time because she hoped that Chuyin would stay in the Linghu family and then go look for your wife. Linghu Renjie said, "She's looking for my wife?" Duan Lingtian was a little confused. She's related to my wife? At this moment, when Duan Lingtian thought of Linghu Chuyin who looked exactly like his wife, Kuer, who had changed her appearance, a bold idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Your wife, Xianing Shui, is Chuyin's twin sister. Linghu Renjie sighed and said, as for the specifics and your wife's situation, she didn't tell me much, so I'm not particularly clear about it. Sect Master, what's my wife's situation now? Even with my current strength, even if I know, I may not be able to do anything about it. Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice. At the same time, he stared at Linghu Renjie intently. His extremely serious gaze caused Linghu Renjie to repeatedly avoid Duan Lingtian's gaze. In the end, Linghu Renjie sighed deeply. Forget it. If you insist on knowing, I'll tell you. According to my sister, Ning Shui is trapped in the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Offering Land. There's no news of her until now. I can only be sure that she's still alive, and she has now gone to the dimensional battlefield on the other side to look for Ning Shui. You don't have to worry. She's an Emperor God expert. Perhaps she can find Ning Shui. As he spoke, Linghu Renjie consoled him. Trapped in the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Offering Land. There's no news of her? Duan Lingtian's body suddenly trembled at this moment. Then, without any warning, his face turned red and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Anger attacked his heart. Anxiety naturally attacked his heart even more. Don't worry. Heaven helps the worthy. Since Ning Shui looks almost the same as Chuyin, I can tell that Chuyin doesn't look like someone who has a short life. Linghu Renjie sighed once more before continuing to console Duan Lingtian. What you need to do now is to raise your strength as soon as you reach the Pure Yang sect. You should strive to become a God Emperor before the planar battlefield closes. When the time comes, we might be able to enter the planar battlefield and take a look. Although Linghu Renjie felt that the chances of Duan Lingtian stepping into the God Emperor realm within 300 years were slim, seeing Duan Lingtian's current state, he still comforted him. If that's the case, Patriarch, you can be considered as Ker's uncle. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, and after he recovered from his shock with great difficulty, he looked at Linghu Renjie as the corners of his mouth slightly opened to reveal a forced smile. However, I'll continue to call you Patriarch for now. When I reunite with Ker and visit you again, I'll change the way I address you. Duan Lingtian said, All right, I'll wait for that day. Linghu Renjie also smiled, his eyes filled with anticipation. He really didn't expect that such a young and promising fellow would have such a close relationship with his niece, whom he had only recently found out about. They were husband and wife. Moreover, they were a married couple who already had children. Patriarch, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving with the two elders from Chunyang School now. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's only thought was to go to Chunyang School and cultivate diligently, so he could raise his cultivation base as soon as possible. In the past, he had been under a lot of pressure. Now, the pressure was even greater. Previously, he did not know Ker's life was in danger. He only thought he would be able to bring Ker away from the Divine Offering Land after 300 years. At that time, he would be able to bring Ker back to the Devata realms and the mundane realms. Even if there were people from the Divine Offering Land whose cultivation base was higher than his, they would not be able to do anything to him due to the restrictions set up by the supreme powerhouses in the realms of gods. But now that he knew that Kuer's life was in danger, his desire to become stronger was so strong that it could not be any stronger. Go. Linghu Renjie nodded. There are some things that I won't tell you. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I just want to tell you that although Chunyang School is one of the strongest forces in Tunglong Province, it's only limited to Tunglong Province. Outside Tunglong Province, there are many forces and geniuses stronger than Chunyang School. You have to be careful in the future. Linghu Renjie said, I will. Duan Lingtian nodded. Before he left, He added, Patriarch, if you and the Linghu family encounter any problems that you can't solve, please don't hesitate to contact me. As long as it's within my power, I won't refuse, Duan Lingtian said solemnly. Before he left, he gave Linghu Renjie some divine pills that he had refined when he was in the Tianlong clan. Basically, they were all Supreme King-level divine pills. There were also some Emperor-level divine pills. Duan Lingtian didn't give the Supreme King-level divine pills to Linghu Renjie. It wasn't that he didn't trust Linghu Renjie, but that he was worried that if Linghu Renjie gave them to others, they wouldn't be able to keep their mouths shut. Since that was the case, he wasn't in a hurry. In the future, he would have a chance to come back sooner or later. At that time, it wouldn't be too late to give Linghu Renjie better divine pills. Duan Lingtian, Jinping Fan, and Qin Wuyang came quickly and left quickly. It only took them about 2 hours to arrive at Linghu City and leave Linghu City. Duan Lingtian, are you coming back to Chunyang School with us, or do you have something else to do? Jinping Fan, the Chunyang School's quiet void elder, seemed a little uninterested after experiencing the Linghu family's unscrupulous behavior. Elder Zhen, I want to go to Tianfeng City to see an old friend and settle some things. Duan Lingtian said, if Elder Zhen is in a hurry to go back to Chunyang School, you can go back first. I'll go there myself later. No need. Jinping Fan waved his hand and said, I have nothing to do. I'll go with you. But what are you going to settle? Do you want to see blood? Jinping Fan's interest seemed to be piqued at this moment. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised by this. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded in response. At the same time, a cold light flashed in his eyes. The Zhong family of Tianfeng City's God King-level family had sent men of sacrifice to kill him in the past. It was time to settle the old score. Even though the Zhong family had intended to be on good terms with him and had paid a lot of things for this, he had only let the entire Zhong family go. He didn't intend to let the Zhong family off the hook for sending men of sacrifice to kill him. Apart from the Zhong family, there are several other families in Tianfeng City. Those who sent men of sacrifice back then must pay the price for their actions. Duan Lingtian could still remember the time when he was still in Skywind City's Hidden Fog Academy. During the training assessment, he was hunted down by many groups of men of sacrifice. At that time, if he hadn't hidden his strength, he might have been killed by the men of sacrifice. Jinping Fan's eyes lit up when he heard Duan Lingtian's affirmative answer. Then I'll go with you and join in the fun. I'm a person who loves to join in the fun. In terms of seniority, Jinping Fan was Qin Wuyang's grand marshal uncle, and he was also older than Qin Wuyang. But when he was with Qin Wuyang, in terms of temperament, he was like a child that hadn't grown up yet. As for Qin Wuyang, he saw Duan Lingtian subconsciously look at him. He shrugged, a helpless expression on his face. This was because he had long since grown accustomed to this grand martial uncle's behavior. Soon after, Duan Lingtian led the two of them to Tianfeng City. On the way, in order to increase the efficiency of this trip, Duan Lingtian sent a message to the Tianlong clan's sect master Long Qingchong, informing him of what he was going to do. Not long after, Long Qingchong replied, I've already ordered someone to contact the Hidden Fog Sect's sect master Qianin. Qianin will lead people to Tianfeng City and wait for you there. Tianfeng City could be considered the Hidden Fog Sect's territory. Duan Lingtian looked for Long Qingchong, the Tianlong clan's sect master, because he wanted him to inform the Hidden Fog Sect. The Hidden Fog Sect was the same as the Linghu family. They were both divine emperor-level forces that were indirectly affiliated with the Tianlong clan. Naturally, they didn't dare to neglect the orders of the Tianlong clan's sect master, Elder Zhen. On the way to Tianfeng City, Duan Lingtian thought of something and asked Jinping Fan, does your Chunyang school have a space-piercing divine shuttle? Space-piercing divine shuttle? When Jinping Fan heard Duan Lingtian's words, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he nodded and said, that thing is everywhere. However, in the past 700 years, the inventory of this thing has been emptied. Those Chunyang school disciples who came to the profound Handle land from the Devata realms and the mundane realms all need this thing to return home. Are you asking this because you want to go back? Jinping Fan was also aware that Duan Lingtian came from a Devata realm. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. I want to get a few space-piercing divine shuttles for my clone to visit my family. This is a small matter. I'll ask little Yang Yang to get a few for you. Jinping Fan said. Qin Wuyang chimed in. Duan Ling Tian, natives of the realms of gods like us can't use the space-piercing divine shuttle due to our bloodline. Moreover, people from the Devata realms can use the space-piercing divine shuttle. For this reason, very few people would refine it. However, if you need them, I can ask the Sect's divine weapon masters to refine some for you, Qin Wuyang said nonchalantly. Qin Wuyang said casually. In his opinion, this was just a small matter. Thank you, Elder Qin. Duan Lingtian thanked Qin Wuyang profusely. He was also aware of Qin Wuyang's words. The space-piercing divine shuttles could only be used by those who were not natives of the realms of gods and had at least become gods. Chapter 39-38. Duan Lingtian sighed in relief after the matter with the divine void-piercing shuttle was resolved. This meant he could send his clones back to the Devata realms and realms of gods through the divine void-piercing shuttle at any time. If Master hasn't returned by the time I return, I'll go to the netherworld to look for him. Even if Master is fine, he won't be able to escape from Mi Xian's control. Mi Xian probably won't go all out against Master for the time being, but what if Master continues to grow? Duan Lingtian could not help but feel worried when he thought about this. His master, Feng Qingyang, was a prodigy in the first place. On top of that, he had obtained the inheritance of a supreme expert. In terms of fortune, even Zhang Xian could only surpass Feng Qingyang by relying on the 5 divine elements. Naturally, Duan Lingtian's achievements were largely due to his master's help. Although his cultivation base had surpassed his master's, he did not think his master was no longer qualified to be his master. After all, a master for a day was a father for life. Moreover, with his master's foundation, he would definitely soar to the heavens once he arrived in the realms of gods. Elder Qin, since the divine void-piercing shuttle can allow godly existences from the Devata realms to return to their homeworld, does that mean the godly existences in the Devata realms who aren't natives of the realms of gods can use the divine void-piercing shuttle to come to the realms of gods? Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of this problem. If this problem could be solved, would it not mean his master, Feng Qingyang, would have a chance to come to the realms of gods as soon as possible? Naturally, this was just a thought that came to him on a whim. Currently, there were only 300 years left until the space tunnel between the Devata realms and the realms of gods opened. Even if his master was not around, the realms of gods would still be fine in the next 300 years. 300 years was not a long time for godly existences. However, if it was possible, Duan Lingtian hoped his master could come to the realms of gods as soon as possible so that he could raise his cultivation base. Those who were god kings and above were racing against time, since they would have to face a 1,000-year heavenly tribulation every 1,000 years. Perhaps it would be easy in the beginning. However, it would only become more difficult as time passed. Many people died in the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation because their strength could not keep up. Every 1,000 years, not only would a god emperor perish, but even a divine venerable would perish. Some divine venerables had lived for so long that their 1,000-year heavenly tribulations were even more powerful. Unless he could go one step further and become a supreme expert. Duan Lingtian wasn't sure if the omnipotent ones would have to face a heavenly tribulation of 1,000 years. Of course, Qin Wuyang gave a firm answer to Duan Lingtian's question. The space-piercing divine shuttle can be used to travel between the realms of gods and the lower realms of gods. However, there's no difference between the lower realms of gods and the lower realms of gods. Even if I let you leave the profound handle land and go to the lower planes, then use another void-piercing divine shuttle to come back, you may not necessarily return to the profound handle land, Qin Wuyang said. Hearing this, Duan Lingtian suddenly understood. Even so, I still have to prepare at least one void-piercing divine shuttle for Master. As for whether he uses it or not, it's up to him. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Of course, he also knew that for now, his master could easily deal with the heavenly tribulation of 1,000 years. This was because his master hadn't stepped into the God-King realm for long, not even 1,000 years. The first 1,000 years of heavenly tribulation hadn't even descended, and he had already stepped into the God-King realm. As for the first 1,000 years of heavenly tribulation, even the weakest God-King would be able to deal with it. As they chatted, Duan Lingtian and the other two soon arrived at Skywind City. And when they arrived at Skywind City, several figures arrived in front of them. They respectfully bowed and said, "Greetings, Elder Jun, Elder Qin, and Elder Duan." This group of people was led by the Hidden Fog Sect's sect master, Qian. Behind Qian were several other elders of the Hidden Fog Sect. Among them were people Duan Lingtian had seen in the past, but he wasn't familiar with them. However, he couldn't be more familiar with Qian. "Elder Duan?" Hearing how Qian and the others addressed him, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned. As if seeing Duan Lingtian's stunned expression, Qian faintly smiled and said, "Elder Duan, the Tianlong clan asked me to pass on a message to you. From today onwards, you are the Silver Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan." At the same time, Qian Yin's gaze was also complicated. He never imagined that the little brat of the past would now stand at a place that was completely out of his reach. Silver Dragon Elder? Hearing Qian Yin's words, Duan Lingtian was stunned once more. If he didn't remember wrong, when he was in the Tianlong clan, he didn't seem to have heard of a Silver Dragon Elder. Silver Dragon Elder? Hearing Qian Yin's words, the corners of Qin Wuyang's lips twitched. He subconsciously glanced at Zhun Pingfan's back as he stood side by side with Duan Lingtian. "Elder Duan, you are the first Silver Dragon Elder in the history of the Tianlong clan." Seeing Duan Lingtian's confusion, Qian promptly explained, "The clan leader asked me to pass on a message to you from the Tianlong clan. The Silver Dragon Elder is also an honorary elder of the Tianlong clan. In the Tianlong clan, you enjoy all the rights of a Golden Dragon Elder. At the same time, you don't have to do anything for the Tianlong clan. You have no obligations." At the same time, Jin Pingfan couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Ha ha ha ha. Silver Dragon Elder, Silver Dragon Lu Dragon. Duan Lingtian, how about I call you Silver Dragon from now on?" Originally, Duan Lingtian didn't think much of it. However, now that he heard Zhen Pingfan repeatedly emphasizing the two words Silver Dragon, he understood something. He then looked at Jin Pingfan helplessly and asked, "Elder Jin, this isn't your idea, right? What do you think? Do you like it?" Zhun Pingfan's smile became even brighter. This was indeed his idea. Before he left the Tianlong clan, he had spoken to the clan leader of the Tianlong clan, Long Qingchong, on a whim. Although Long Qingchong felt that it was a little inappropriate, he didn't dare to disobey Zhun Pingfan and could only agree helplessly. Hearing Zhun Pingfan's admission, Duan Lingtian only smiled helplessly on the surface, although he was gnashing his teeth in anger. Right now, it seemed like he could only let Zhun Pingfan do whatever he wanted. However, when he grew up in the future, he would definitely give Zhun Pingfan a good beating. Zhun Pingfan didn't know what Duan Lingtian was thinking right now. In the near future, when he was beaten into a pulp, he would regret what he had done today. Of course, this was all in the future. "Three elders, this way please." At this time, Qian made a pleased gesture. Then, he led Duan Lingtian and the other two into Skywind City. Then, they went straight to Duan Lingtian's destination, the God King level family, the Zhong family. At this time, Qian had prepared everything. On that day, all those who were involved in mobilizing the Zhong family's death squad were all pulled out, including the Zhong family patriarch. In addition, several other people from Skywind City's God King level family clans who were involved in the death squad sent out to kill Duan Lingtian were also pulled out and imprisoned together. A giant cage was placed in the courtyard of the Zhong family's mansion. The group of people inside had nowhere to go. Some of them had ashen faces, some had looks of despair, and some had looks of regret. "Elder Duan, the people you want are all here." When Qian brought Duan Lingtian over, the several Hidden Fog sect elders around the cage all respectfully bowed towards Duan Lingtian and the other two. "Greetings, Elder Jun, Elder Qin, and Elder Duan." At this time, it wasn't hard for Duan Lingtian to discover that among these Hidden Fog sect elders, there were actually Elder Yun and Elder Wu of the Wind, Thunder, Cloud, and Mist sect's four highest elders. With these two highest elders personally overseeing the Zhong family's mansion, even if the people in the cage could escape, it would be impossible for them to do so. These two were existences no weaker than the Linghu family's old ancestors. However, at this time, Elder Yun and Elder Wu looked at Duan Lingtian with similarly complex gazes. In the blink of an eye, several dozen years had passed. The little brat they had looked down upon in the past had now surpassed them in strength and status. As for potential, just thinking about it made their scalps tingle. A lower god emperor less than 3,000 years old. Moreover, he could kill ordinary middle god emperors as if they were dogs. Such an existence was about to enter one of the strongest god emperor level influences in Tunglong province, the Chunyang school. As long as he didn't die midway, he was destined to soar into the heavens. Even now, this person only needed to say a single word, and they feared their heads would be separated from their bodies. Elder Duan, please spare me. Elder Duan, please spare me. In the past, I was confused for a moment. I am willing to work like a horse for you. I only hope that you can spare my life. Elder Duan, you are high and lofty. You should disdain killing me, right? Within the cage, as soon as they saw Duan Lingtian appear, most of the people in the cage fell to their knees and begged for mercy. There were even several people who constantly kowtowed until their foreheads were bleeding. There were also a few people who stood where they were, looking at Duan Lingtian with complicated gazes. At the same time, they let out a long sigh and smiled bitterly. Duan Lingtian glanced at the people in the cage indifferently and said indifferently, "Back then, I, Duan Lingtian, did not provoke any of you. However, you took advantage of my examination at the Hidden Fog Academy to send men of sacrifice to kill me. If I didn't have some ability, I would have died at the hands of the men of sacrifice you sent. Today, it's time to settle the score." As soon as Duan Lingtian's words left his mouth, the voices begging for mercy in the cage became louder and louder, until a spatial storm swept out and swept up the entire cage and the surrounding void. Suddenly, it was as if a painting had been torn apart, leaving no trace behind. Only the thin mist that resembled water mist dispersed and patted the snow-white robes of the people present, leaving behind tiny red dots. "I'll have to trouble Sect Master Qian to make a trip." After Duan Lingtian greeted Qianyin, he turned around and left with Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang. They were ready to officially head to Chunyang School. As for Qianyin and the others, they looked at Duan Lingtian's back with complicated gazes. This young man should have been the pride of their Hidden Fog sect. Chapter 39-39. Duan Lingtian had never been as relaxed as he was today since he came to the profound Handle Land. His originally tense nerves were completely relaxed. This was because he was now heading to the Chunyang School. With Elder Su and the God Emperor Zhen Pingfan by his side, it could be said that he was incomparably safe. Apart from that, he had also resolved most of the problems he encountered after coming to the mystic astral land in the Plane of Gods. It could be said that he had nothing to worry about. Thinking back, when he was in the Tianlong clan, he had to worry about the Thousand Demon Sect and Vice Sect Master Xuemingji. When he was in the Linghu family, he had to worry about the threat from the Hidden Fog Sect. When he was in the Hidden Fog Sect, it was relatively easy. However, there were still many hidden dangers around. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left the Hidden Fog Sect because of conflicts. Before that, when he was in the Hidden Fog Academy, he had to deal with the threat from the Heavenly Wind City's Zhong clan. Before that, when he first came to the Tunglong province, he stayed in the Duan clan manor in the mountain range on the eastern edge of the Tunglong province. It could be said that it was the most relaxing period of his life before this. It's been a long time since I've been this relaxed. In the blink of an eye, it has been a few decades since I came to the profound Handle Land. Duan Lingtian sighed. It was also because he had just returned to the Devata realms and the mundane realms and met his family and friends that Duan Lingtian didn't have to miss them. As for Kerr, she also learned about the current situation from Linghu Renjia. However, with his current strength, even if he knew that Kerr might be in danger, there was nothing he could do. He was depressed for a few days. In the end, he could only pray silently in his heart, hoping that Kerr would be safe. During those few days, he hated himself for being weak. Just as Duan Lingtian was feeling comfortable, He felt that apart from Kerr and his master Feng Qingyang, he didn't need to worry about his family and friends. A figure barged into his mind without any warning. It was a beautiful figure. A woman's figure. Morongbing. Many years ago, he had met her by chance in a Devata realm, and they had slept together. That time, before he left, Duan Lingtian had promised her that after 1,000 years, he would return to find her and ask her to wait for him. Alas! Duan Lingtian sighed, his expression becoming extremely complicated in an instant. Even in normal times, when he thought of the women around him, his wife, and his confidants, he would subconsciously not include Morongbing in his list, even though he had long regarded Morongbing as his woman. However, he and Morongbing were the kind of people who got on the train first and then bought the tickets later. Moreover, they did not have a strong relationship like Huan and Feng Tianwu. Now, there are only 300 years left until the promise I made with her. I'll try my best to bring Kerr back and look for her in 300 years. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. At this moment, a hint of guilt rose in Duan Lingtian's heart. As the saying goes, love grows with time. When the time comes, I'll slowly cultivate my feelings for her. When Duan Lingtian thought about Morongbing, he was no longer as carefree as before. Instead, he felt a lot heavier. Unknowingly, he had been separated from Morongbing for more than 600 years. I wonder how she's doing now. Forget it, there's no point in thinking too much about it. I'll just look for her when the time comes. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian cleared his mind and focused on his current cultivation base. Although I've broken through the bottleneck and shouldn't encounter any obstacles when I break through to the intermediate Divine Emperor realm, the path to becoming a Divine Emperor is really difficult. Even if I have many Supreme Divine Pills to help me cultivate, it's still a drop in the bucket. I'll have to rely on the accumulation of time. Otherwise, unless you can obtain that kind of heaven-defying treasure of heaven and earth, or divine fruit, or medicinal ingredients that can be used to refine a divine pill with even stronger assistance. With these thoughts in mind, Duan Lingtian closed his eyes and subconsciously began to cultivate. Since it was a long way from here to Chunyang School, Duan Lingtian and the other two did not continue to fly by themselves. Instead, they took Qin Wuyang's divine artifact flying ship back. Qin Wuyang's divine artifact flying ship was a divine emperor flying ship. It was very fast. At least, as long as he was not afraid of using up divine crystals, its speed would be much faster than Duan Lingtian's. Even if he teleported, he would not be able to catch up. As he cultivated, Duan Lingtian lost track of time. It was not until Qin Wuyang's voice that he woke up from his cultivation. Duan Lingtian, we've arrived at Chunyang School. Along the way, Zhen Pingfan seemed to have encountered some problems in his cultivation. He had been cultivating on the divine artifact flying ship, so Duan Lingtian was not disturbed. However, when Duan Lingtian woke up from his cultivation, he saw Zhen Pingfan standing above the divine artifact flying ship with his hands clasped behind his back, waiting for him. As for Qin Wuyang, he was still respectfully following behind Zhen Pingfan. Elder Zhen, Elder Qin, Duan Lingtian greeted them with a smile. They smiled back, especially Zhen Pingfan. He grinned and said, Duan Lingtian, your cultivation progress is much faster than I thought. Judging from your aura, you're at least 1/3 of the way from a lower Divine Emperor to a middle Divine Emperor. It's hard to believe that you've only become a lower Divine Emperor recently. Zhen Pingfan sighed and said, it's one thing to cultivate fast on the way to becoming a Divine Emperor because there are many talented disciples in Chunyang School. As long as they have enough divine elixirs, they can become Divine Emperors in a short time. However, if you want to go further after becoming a Divine Emperor, even if you have abundant resources, you need time to accumulate them. As far as I know, looking at the history of Chunyang School, I'm afraid there are only a few people who can compare with you. Even the ancestors of Chunyang School who can compare with you, without exception, are people who have had great opportunities. Zhen Pingfan looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully. Duan Lingtian, I'm afraid you've also had great opportunities, haven't you? In the face of Zhen Pingfan's meaningful inquiry, Duan Lingtian smiled awkwardly and said, I guess so. Don't worry. Zhen Pingfan seemed to see Duan Lingtian's uneasiness. He smiled faintly and said, Individual opportunities are individual fortunes. I, Jinping fan, won't have any ideas about you because of that. Moreover, most opportunities belong to individuals. Even if others are jealous and kill them, they won't necessarily get anything. In my opinion, Duan Ling Tian's value isn't worth me taking such a risk. Zhen Pingfan's words were very direct and straightforward. It was because of this that Duan Ling Tian was completely relieved. His impression of Zhen Pingfan also improved. Let's go. Follow me into Chunyang School. Zhen Pingfan smiled and said. Then, he walked side by side with Duan Ling Tian and led Duan Ling Tian forward. At this moment, what appeared before Duan Ling Tian was shockingly a lofty mountain that was shrouded in clouds and mist. At first glance, he could not see anything special about it at all. However, as Zhen Pingfan led him into the clouds and mist ahead, everything in front of him changed dramatically. In the next moment, many floating buildings that looked like heavenly palaces appeared in front of him. These buildings were suspended on floating islands. These floating islands were of different sizes. The surface area of the larger ones was not smaller than the area of Linghu City where the Linghu family lived. As for the smaller ones, they were only able to contain a single palace. However, there was still a large empty space around them. Greetings, senior granduncle. Just as Duan Ling Tian and the others passed through the clouds and mist and appeared in this new world, an old figure appeared and bowed respectfully to Zhen Pingfan. Yes, unlike the casual attitude he had when facing Qin Wuyang, Zhang Pingfan appeared to be indifferent and serious in front of this old man. At this moment, the old man nodded at Qin Wuyang and smiled. Senior brother Qin. Haha, junior brother Wang. Have you been on duty recently? Qin Wuyang laughed. Obviously, they were quite familiar with each other. Yes. The old man nodded and then glanced at Duan Ling Tian, who was beside Zhen Pingfan. Although there was doubt in his eyes, he did not ask anything. He bowed again to Zhen Pingfan and then disappeared into the void as if he had never appeared. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian could also sense that a few looming auras around them had retreated before they appeared. A patrol elder from Chunyang School? A patrol disciple? It was not difficult for Duan Ling Tian to guess. As for the old man just now, he had the same identity token as Qin Wuyang. He was obviously Elder Ling Xiu of Chunyang School, and his strength was comparable to Elder He Long of the Tianlong clan. The one just now is a disciple of one of my senior granduncles. At this moment, Qin Wuyang said to Duan Ling Tian in a timely manner, he can be considered one of us. He became Elder Ling Xiu 100 years ago. Yes, Duan Ling Tian nodded. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian followed Zhen Pingfan and went all the way inside without any obstruction. Suddenly, two figures appeared in front of them. Greetings, Elder Jingxiu. Greetings, Elder Qin. The leading figure was a tall, middle-aged man. After seeing Qin Wuyang and the identity token on Zhen Pingfan's waist, his pupils suddenly shrank. He then bowed respectfully to Zhen Pingfan and Qin Wuyang. This person doesn't seem to know Elder Zhen. He only recognizes Elder Zhen's identity token. It was not difficult for Duan Ling Tian to see this. This is Elder Jingxiu of Chunyang School, an Emperor God expert. Why don't you salute him? Do you people from Heavenly Illumination sect not know etiquette? As far as I know, you seem to be the Valley Master of Heavenly Illumination sect, right? In the next instant, the middle-aged man turned his head slightly to look at the elderly figure behind him and abruptly reprimanded him. This was an old man. Originally, his gaze fell on Duan Ling Tian, and there was a flash of doubt in his eyes. In the next moment, when he heard the middle-aged man's words, his expression changed drastically. An Emperor God expert? The moment his expression changed drastically, Duan Ling Tian's gaze fell on his face. His pupils shrank, and he was pleasantly surprised. Senior. Chapter 3940. Duan Ling Tian would never forget the predicament he had encountered on his way to the mystic Handle Land in the realms of gods. At that time, with the help of the 5 divine elements, he had forcefully broken through the space barrier in the 9 Serenities battlefield and arrived at the realm battlefield. In the realm battlefield, as someone who had not even entered the godly spirit stage, it was as though he was treading on thin ice. However, Since he could not find his way, he could only walk step by step in torment. At that time, what he was most worried about was not being discovered. Instead, he was worried that if he was discovered, the other party would kill him because he was weak. At that time, he was only a demigod. He was not even a lesser god. On the other hand, anyone who walked out of the realm battlefield was a god king or divine emperor. They could kill him with a snap of their fingers. It was precisely because of this that he suffered for a long time. He could not see any hope. It was as though there was a huge rock hanging in his heart, until he met a kind-hearted old man. When he said that he had accidentally entered the realm battlefield, the old man agreed to help him under his pleas. He personally sent him to the military camp in the realm battlefield. Then, he used the transportation formation in the military camp to arrive at the mystic Candleland, saving his life in the realm battlefield. Heavenly Illumination Sect, Yi Beiyuan. This was the information that the old man had left behind about him. After arriving at the mystic Candleland, he came to the Tunglong province where the Heavenly Illumination Sect was located. At the same time, he learned about the identity of his savior. Yi Beiyuan was the Valley Master of the Heavenly Illumination Sect's Moon Shadow Valley. The Heavenly Illumination Sect was a divine emperor sect. Although there were no divine emperors in the sect, there were many divine emperors in history. It could be said that the Heavenly Illumination Sect was similar to the Tianlong clan in the Tunglong province. In the past, Duan Lingtian had thought about going to the Heavenly Illumination Sect to look for Yi Beiyuan in the future to repay his kindness. However, at that time, he did not even dare to wander around the Tunglong province, let alone repay his kindness. He was afraid that someone would attack him and he would not be able to defend himself. However, he had never imagined that he would meet his savior from the planar battlefield once more at this moment and in this situation. They met each other in Chunying School. Duan Lingtian. You know him? Jin Pingfan looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. He never expected that an outsider who came to Chunying School and was not a member of the Tianlong clan would know Duan Lingtian. The person from Chunying School who led the way for Yi Beiyuan was also stunned at this time. Obviously, he did not expect the young man beside Elder Jingshu to know the person behind him. Although he had never seen the purple-robed young man beside Elder Jingshu before. However, to be able to stand beside Elder Jingsu and stand side by side with her, it was clear how much Elder Jingsu valued him. Therefore, at this moment, the coldness he had toward Yi Beiyuan gradually faded away. He nodded and smiled awkwardly at Duan Lingtian. At this moment, he could see that the purple-clad young man before him was obviously respectful toward the people from the Heaven Illumination sect behind him. Little brother Lingtian, it's really you? At this time, Yi Beiyuan also recovered from Duan Lingtian Sr. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his face was full of horror. Why, you're from Chunying School? Yes. In the face of Yi Beiyuan's inquiry, Duan Lingtian nodded and smiled. I wasn't when I met you, Senior, but I am now. Little brother Lingtian? As Yi Beiyuan addressed Duan Lingtian, the middle-aged man standing in front of him suddenly narrowed his eyes. Could this purple-robed young man be the monster from the Tianlong clan? If that was the case, it would explain why he would return with Elder Qin Wuyang and Elder Jingsu. Ever since the news of Duan Lingtian killing two middle-level godly emperors who had ambushed him in the Tianlong clan with the cultivation base of a low-level godly emperor had spread to Chunying School, the entire Chunying School basically knew about Duan Lingtian's existence, as long as they were not particularly ill-informed. Of course, many people thought that the people from the Tianlong clan must have been exaggerating. How could a godly emperor-level sect, which did not even have a godly emperor powerhouse, produce such a monster? Impossible. Of course, there were also some people who were skeptical. This included the middle-aged man himself. If he had been skeptical about the rumors about Duan Lingtian in the past, then he no longer doubted it now. If the rumors were false, would Elder Jingsu have personally brought Duan Lingtian to Chunying School? So it's brother Lingtian. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and hurriedly saluted Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded and smiled at the middle-aged man, then looked at Yi Beiyuan again and said to Zhen Pingfan, Elder Zhen, this is the Valley Master of Heaven Illumination Sect's Moon Shadow Valley, Senior Yi Beiyuan. Back then, when I mistakenly entered the dimensional battlefield, It was Senior Yi Beiyuan who sent me to the military camp of the dimensional battlefield. That was why I was able to come out safely. Duan Ling Tian didn't conceal this. Senior Yi Beiyuan can be considered to be my savior. As soon as Duan Ling Tian said this, Yi Beiyuan looked at Duan Ling Tian with a complicated expression, unable to calm down for a long time. Could it be that he remembered wrongly? Wasn't this young man just a demigod a few decades ago? How could he become a godly emperor in a few decades? However, Yi Beiyuan asked himself if he remembered wrongly. But what was going on? Not to mention that this young man had just entered Chunyang School. Even if he was originally a disciple of Chunyang School, it was impossible for him to go from a demigod who was not even a lower-ranked deity to a godly emperor in just a few decades, right? I see. Zhen Pingfan smiled in realization. I didn't think it would be such a coincidence that you would meet your benefactor as soon as you arrived at the Pure Sun sect. It looks like the Pure Sun sect has a pretty good affinity with you. At this time, Yi Beiyuan's attention shifted from Duan Lingtian to Zhen Pingfan, and he bowed respectfully to him. Yi Beiyuan of Heaven Illumination sect greets Elder Jingsu. Greetings, Elder Lingshu. Yi Beiyuan did not recognize the identity token of Elder Jingshu, but he recognized the identity token of Elder Lingshu, Qin Wuyang. The person next to Duan Lingtian, the Chunyang school elder who had just led him here, had told him that he was Elder Jingsu. Therefore, when he bowed to the other party now, he firmly remembered the identity token hanging on the other party's waist so that he would not be ignorant when he met Chunyang School's Elder Jingsu in the future.
Yes.
Zhen Pingfen nodded and then asked curiously, "You're from Heaven Illumination sect? So why did you come to Chunyang School? Is there a problem?" At this time, Duan Lingtian also looked at Yi Beiyuan. "Yes, senior. Why did you come to Chunyang School?" When Zhen Fan asked the question, Yi Beiyuan's expression was obviously slightly conflicted, and when Duan Lingtian asked the question, his conflicted expression was obviously slightly moved. At the same time, before Yi Beiyuan could speak, the Chunyang school elder who had led him here spoke first. Elder Jingsu, Brother Lingtian, Valley Master Yi came to Chunyang School to beg young Master Silan to spare the lives of his disciples. His disciples offended young Master Silan and are now imprisoned at young Master Silan's place. They are being tortured, and I'm afraid it won't be long before they die. At the end of his words, the Chunyang school elder sighed. If it were any other time, he would not have taken the initiative to say these words. However, Elder Jingsu was present now, and she was obviously on Duan Lingtian's side and had a good relationship with Duan Lingtian. Moreover, Yi Beiyuan was Duan Lingtian's savior. He was worried that if he did not take the initiative to say this and let Yi Beiyuan say it, he might vent his anger on Elder Jingsu in front of him. Upon hearing the Chunyang school elder's words, Duan Lingtian frowned. Qin Wuyang also frowned. Zhen Pingfan was the only one who asked faintly, "How did he offend young Master Silan?" When the Chunyang school elder heard this, he subconsciously turned to look at Yi Beiyuan. "I'm not too sure about this. You'll have to ask Valley Master Yi." Valley Master Yi came to Chunyang School this time to plead with young Master Silan, but he was kicked out. "I happened to be on duty nearby today, so Elder Lu Hui, who serves young Master Silan, asked me to expel. Well, send him out." As the Chunyang School elder's voice fell, Yi Beiyuan looked at Zhen Pingfan and said respectfully, "Elder Jingsu, my disciple took a fancy to something outside and paid the divine crystals in advance. Before he could get the thing, young Master Silan took a fancy to it. He was not sensible enough to sell it, so he had a conflict with young Master Silan. In this matter, it was his fault for offending young Master Silan due to his lack of foresight. Now, young Master Silan has also ruthlessly tortured him. I think he has learned his lesson and will not make the same mistake again. I came here in the hope that young Master Silan would spare his life. However, young Master Silan said that when he had enough fun, if my insensible disciple was not dead, he would throw him out of Chunyang School." Yi Beiyuan's face turned slightly red at the end of his words. Apparently, some qi and blood rushed to his head, but he forcibly suppressed it. "That's it?" Zhen Pingfan asked faintly. "Yes." Yi Beiyuan nodded solemnly. "In front of you, Elder Jingsu, even if I, Yi Beiyuan, had a few guts, I would not dare to lie. Duan Lingtian's brows furrowed slightly at this moment. Just because of such a small matter, that person named Silin from Chunyang School brought Senior Yi Beiyuan's disciple back to Chunyang School and tortured him to death? At this moment, Duan Lingtian also felt a little agitated. He felt that the other party had gone too far. You saved Duan Lingtian's life. Zheng Pingfan looked at Yi Beiyuan and went straight to the point. Today, I saved the life of your disciple. Duan Lingtian owes you a life-saving grace, so we'll call it even from now on. What do you think? As soon as Zheng Pingfan said this, Duan Lingtian was shocked. Elder Zhen, Elder Jing Su. However, as soon as Duan Lingtian opened his mouth, Yi Beiyuan also spoke in a timely manner. He looked at Zheng Pingfan with a solemn expression and said seriously, "When I helped little brother Ling Tian back then, it was just a small effort. I definitely don't dare to say that I saved his life. However, if Elder can save my disciple, as long as Elder needs me for anything in the future, as long as it doesn't violate my principles, even if you ask me to die, I, Yi Beiyuan, won't frown at all." As he finished speaking, Yi Beiyuan bowed deeply to Zheng Pingfan. Chapter 39-41. Yi Beiyuan's heartfelt words made Zheng Pingfan take a few more glances at him. Then, he said nonchalantly, "In that case, come with me." As soon as he finished speaking, Zheng Pingfan took the lead and stepped into the air. Duan Lingtian, Qin Wuyang, and Yi Beiyuan followed him immediately. For a moment, only the Chunyang school elder who was about to leave with Yi Beiyuan was left standing on the spot. His eyes gleamed as he watched Zheng Pingfan's departing figure. Earlier, Duan Lingtian addressed this person as Elder Zhen. Elder Qin Wuyang was also following behind him. It's obvious that they have a close relationship. Could it be that this person is our Chunyang school's Zheng Pingfan, Elder Zhen? As he muttered to himself, the Chunyang school elder's eyes suddenly lit up. This person is the most elusive among the Jingshu elders. I didn't expect to meet this Elder Zhen today thanks to Yi Beiyuan from the Heaven Illumination sect. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not know what the Chunyang school elder was thinking. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was asking Zheng Pingfan, "Elder Zhen, who is this young Master Shalin that Senior Yi Beiyuan mentioned?" "He's the great-grandson of one of my senior brothers." Zheng Pingfan smiled faintly and said, "At the same time, he's also one of the most outstanding young prodigies in Chunyang School. However, when he was your age, he was far inferior to you." As soon as Zheng Pingfan said this, Duan Lingtian immediately realized what kind of person the other party was. He was the great-grandson of Zheng Pingfan's senior brother. Zheng Pingfan was the Pure Sun sect's Elder Jingshu, a celestial monarch expert. The fact that his senior martial brother could survive until now meant that he wasn't just a deity emperor, he was most likely a celestial monarch expert. And the young Master Selene that Senior Yi Beiyuan spoke of was precisely the great-grandson of such a person. Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Qin Wuyang spoke up as well. That's because Lan Shilin is the only surviving descendant of Senior Granduncle Lan. That's why he dotes on him a lot. On top of that, Lan Shilin is one of the top 10 prodigies of the younger generation in Chunyang School. That's why he's so arrogant. Of course, he has the right to be arrogant. When Qin Wuyang said this, he subconsciously glanced at Yi Beiyuan behind him. When Yi Beiyuan heard this, he naturally revealed a bitter smile and helplessness. Not to mention his disciples, even Yi Beiyuan himself and the Heaven Illumination sect could not afford to offend such a person. Lan Shilin was the only descendant of an Emperor God expert in Chunyang School. If anything happened to him, the Emperor God expert in Chunyang School would go crazy. After hearing Qin Wuyang's words, Duan Lingtian could roughly guess what kind of person Lan Shilin was. Little Yang, where's his cultivation place? When they arrived at the side of a vast floating island, Zheng Pingfan stopped and looked down at the floating island in front of them, which was shrouded in clouds and mist, as he asked Qin Wuyang. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also saw that most of the floating island was filled with mountains and rivers. It looked no different from the natural world outside. Within these mountains and rivers, there were mansions that were separated by mountains and rivers. I don't know either. Qin Wuyang smiled awkwardly. I haven't been to Lan Shilin's residence either. Yi Beiyuan, you lead the way. Then, Qin Wuyang turned to look at Yi Beiyuan. Although Yi Beiyuan was not from Chunyang School, he had just come from Lan Shalin's place, so he probably remembered the way back to Lan Shalin's residence. Yes, Elder Qin. Now that Yi Beiyuan had learned Qin Wuyang's name from Duan Lingtian, he no longer called him Elder Lingshu. As soon as he finished speaking, he led the way in front. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian and the other two followed Yi Beiyuan and landed on the floating island in front of them. Elder Zhen, since you haven't been to Lan Shalin's cultivation place, how do you know that his cultivation place is here? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Because this island is the cultivation place of my senior brother's disciples, Zhan Pingfan said, including my senior brother, all the disciples of his branch, as long as they are in the Pure Sun sect, are all cultivating here. This floating island belongs to my senior martial brother. The patrolling elders and disciples on it are all members of his bloodline. They're not assigned to duty by the sect. As soon as Zhen Pingfan said this, Duan Lingtian was enlightened. Who is it? Just as Duan Lingtian and the other two followed Qin Wuyang and landed on the island, a voice suddenly sounded. Then, an elderly figure appeared at the right time. This was an old man of medium build. After he appeared, his gaze fell on Yi Beiyuan and he said calmly, "Didn't junior brother Shalin tell you to get lost? You came back. Are you not afraid of death?" Humph. Just as Yi Beiyuan heard the other party's threat and felt a little embarrassed, Qin Wuyang took a step forward and suddenly let out a cold snort. "Hu Er, you are getting more and more unruly." As soon as Qin Wuyang said this, the old man on the other side noticed him. After a slight change in expression, he said with an embarrassed expression, "Martial Uncle Qin, what brings you here?" Although the old man looked about the same age as Qin Wuyang, his seniority was lower than Qin Wuyang's by a lot. Moreover, his status in Chunyang School was not as high as Qin Wuyang's. Therefore, in front of Qin Wuyang, he appeared to be respectful and humble. "I came here with martial uncle," Qin Wuyang said calmly. When the old man who was called Hu Er heard Qin Wuyang's words, his pupils shrank sharply. Then, his gaze swept past Duan Lingtian and fell on Zhan Pingfan. "Hu Er, you are the second disciple of Xiao Jian?" When Hu Er's gaze fell on him, Zhen Pingfan looked at Hu Er with interest and asked with a faint smile. Xiao Jian was Hu Er's master. Like Qin Wuyang, he was also Zhen Pingfan's grandnephew. You are Zhen, ancestor?" After Hu Er came back to his senses, his body suddenly trembled. Then, he knelt on the ground and bowed respectfully to Zhen Pingfan. Hu Er greets ancestor. This was the first time Hu Er saw Zhen Pingfan. Although it was the first time he saw him, he had heard of this Jingshu elder more than once. This person was the junior brother of the strongest ancestor in their lineage. It was said that his strength was not inferior to that ancestor in their lineage. "Okay, take us to Shalin boy." Lan Shalin was Hu Er's junior brother. Zhen Pingfan had never seen Hu Er, but he had seen Lan Shalin. After all, Lan Shalin was the only descendant of his senior brother. In terms of status, Hu Er, an ordinary disciple of his senior brother's lineage, could not compare with him. "Yes, ancestor." Hearing this, Hu Er quickly stood up and led the way in front. At the same time, his heart was full of confusion. What was going on? Why did the guy from the Heavenly Illumination sect come back? Moreover, he brought Ancestor Zhen with him. He also knew Ancestor Zhen? Junior brother Shilin. Without any hesitation, while leading Zhen Pingfan and the others, Hu Er directly sent a message to Lan Shalin. "The old man from the Heavenly Illumination sect who left with you just now has come back." He dares to come back? On the other side, a message was immediately sent back to Hu Er. "Senior brother Hu Er, since he wants to die, just fulfill his wish. I don't believe that he dares to fight back in Chunyang School." The reason why Lan Shalin added the latter part was that he knew that his senior brother's strength was at most similar to the old man from the Heavenly Illumination sect. They were both middle-level divine emperors. "Junior brother Shalin, you can't kill him. You can't kill him." Hu Er hurriedly sent a message. "I'm sending you a message about him, not him. Do you know who else is with him now that he's back?" "Who?" The message from the other side sounded lazy. "Why? Did he find someone to help him?" Doesn't he know my status in Chunyang school? And who dares to stand up for him? Doesn't he know that the person he offended is me, Lan Shilin? Hearing this message, Hu Er was almost scared to tears. Junior brother Shilin, don't talk nonsense. The person who followed him here is Ancestor Zhen. Hu Er was really anxious now. Ancestor Zhen? Who is that? On the other side, Lan Shilin was obviously still in a daze. Qin Wuyang and Uncle Qin are his followers. Their surname is Zhen, and I call them Ancestor. Who else could it be? Hu Er said with a bitter smile. This time, Lan Shilin was silent for a moment before he sent another message. His voice was urgent and sharp. Impossible. He's just a middle-level divine emperor from the Heavenly Illumination sect. How could he alarm that ancestor? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Lan Shilin's tone was full of disbelief. I can't believe it either. Hu Er smiled bitterly. But the problem is that the ancestor is behind me now. I'll be there soon. Quickly bring Elder Lu Hui out to welcome me. At Hu Er's reminder, two figures soared into the sky from a mansion not far away that looked like a paradise. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Duan Lingtian and the others. The person in the lead was a young man in a snow-white robe. The young man's face was handsome and cold. He was tall and had an extraordinary temperament as he stood there. Behind him was an old man who was blind in one eye. The old man's body was withered and thin, but he was extremely sturdy. He stood there, unmoving like a mountain. However, after a while, the young man in the lead bowed respectfully to Zhan Pingfan. Lan Shilin greets the ancestor. According to Chunyang School's rules, if it was the first time one met the ancestor who was more than 3 generations away, one had to kneel down and greet him. The next time one met him, one only had to bow. On the other hand, Lan Shilin had seen Zhan Pingfan a long time ago, and more than once at that. He recognized Zhan Pingfan at a glance just now. Lan Shilin greets Uncle Qin. After greeting Zhan Pingfan, Lan Shilin bowed to Qin Wuyang, who was behind Zhan Pingfan. Shilin boy, I haven't seen you for more than 100 years. I didn't expect you to have stepped into the middle-level divine emperor realm. Zhan Pingfan smiled faintly. Chapter 3942. I only broke through about 100 years ago. Lan Shilin replied to Zhan Pingfan with a smile. At the same time, he glanced at Yi Beiyuan from the corner of his eyes, who was looking at him nervously from the side. Does this Yi Beiyuan really know this old ancestor? Why didn't he say so earlier? If he did, I would have released his disciple a long time ago. At this moment, Lan Shilin couldn't help but curse Yi Beiyuan in his heart. Is it necessary to disturb this old ancestor for such a trivial matter? This old ancestor was an existence that even his great-grandfather had to treat with respect. It was because the old ancestor was not only strong, but his elder was also one of the few void-pierced stage elders in Chunyang School. He was a mid-level god emperor. Zhan Pingfan nodded with a smile. Greetings, martial granduncle. At the same time, the old man behind Lan Shilin also took 2 steps forward and bowed to Lan Shilin respectfully. Zhan Pingfan's attitude towards this elder named Lu Hui was rather indifferent. However, the other party didn't take it seriously because there was a huge difference between their statuses. Moreover, even if he was an elder of Chunyang School, his status was still far superior to Qin Wuyang, who was standing behind Zhan Pingfan. Senior martial brother Qin. After Zhan Pingfan responded indifferently, Lu Hui looked at Qin Wuyang and greeted him. Junior martial brother Lu Hui, long time no see. Qin Wuyang replied with a smile. Even if the other party had a humble background, he was still an elder of Spirit Void sect. Qin Wuyang naturally couldn't look down on him like he did when he was still a child. Old ancestor, martial uncle Qin. Why did you come to look for me? Lan Shilin asked with a smile. Little Yang, you tell us. Zhan Pingfan said lazily. Upon hearing that, Qin Wuyang took a step forward and went to Yi Beiyuan's side. Then, he said to Lan Shilin and Lu Hui, before we talk, let me introduce someone to you. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Wuyang looked at Duan Lingtian, who was standing on the other side of Yi Beiyuan, and said loudly, This is the young genius Duan Lingtian, whom Martial Granduncle and I invited from the Tianlong clan. As for who Duan Lingtian is, I believe you have already heard of him. So, I won't introduce him. Lan Shilin's eyes narrowed as he looked at Duan Lingtian, and Lu Hui's expression turned slightly solemn. Qin Wu Yang continued to introduce the two people before Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, this is my junior nephew, Lan Shilin. As for this person, he is my junior brother, Lu Hui, Qin Wuyang said. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Wuyang sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian and added, Lu Hui came from a humble background. It's all thanks to my martial granduncle's nurturing that he has today. After martial nephew Lan Shilin was born, Lu Hui, who was originally serving tea with martial granduncle, was sent to martial nephew Lan Shilin's side. Not only was he his guide, but he was also his protector. In Chunyang School, many people treat Lu Hui as Lan Shilin's shadow. As soon as Qin Wuyang said that, Duan Lingtian understood. However, on the surface, he still greeted the two of them with a smile. Duan Lingtian greets the two of you. After all, he had not gone through the procedures to enter Chunyang School. Therefore, he did not address the two of them as senior martial brothers or martial granduncle. Instead, he casually cupped his hands as a form of greeting. Duan Lingtian, I, Lan Shilin, have long heard of your great name. Lan Shilin smiled. I've heard a lot about you. Compared to Lan Shilin's smiling face, Lu Hui seemed a little indifferent. However, he still nodded at Duan Lingtian. It was not considered rude. Of course, Duan Lingtian could also tell that it was only because Zhen Pingfan was present today. Otherwise, this elder Lingshu named Lu Hui might not have bothered with him. After Duan Lingtian greeted the two of them, Qin Wuyang looked at Yi Beiyuan who was beside him. As for this person, he's Valley Master Yi of the Heaven Illumination sect. Duan Lingtian is indebted to him for saving his life. Today, I coincidentally met him and found out about some misunderstanding between him and martial nephew Lan Shilin. For Duan Lingtian's sake, martial granduncle plans to step in and help him. At this point, Qin Wuyang took a deep look at Lan Shilin. Martial nephew Lan Shilin, this shouldn't make things difficult for you, right? No, of course not. Lan Shilin responded immediately. I didn't know that Valley Master Yi had such a relationship with Duan Lingtian. If I had known, there definitely wouldn't have been so many misunderstandings. Duan Lingtian is a genius that Chunyang School has wanted to recruit for a long time. Valley Master Yi, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. As Lan Shilin spoke, he looked at Yi Beiyuan with a smile on his face. He looked like a completely different person compared to when Yi Beiyuan had first met him. Although Yi Beiyuan had personally experienced the reality, he did not feel anything. He had lived for tens of thousands of years. If he still could not see through this, then he would really have lived in vain. This world was a world where the strong were respected. The reason why Lan Shilin cooperated today was because of Elder Jingshu, Zhen Pingfan. Zhen Pingfan was not only Chunyang School's Elder Jingshu, but also an Emperor God powerhouse. He was also the junior brother of Lan Shilin's biggest backer. He was an elder 3 generations away from Lan Shilin. Martial Uncle Lu Hui, invite Brothers Hua over to reunite with Valley Master Yi. Immediately after, Lan Shilin turned to look at Lu Hui behind him and called out. As for Lu Hui, after bidding farewell to Zhen Pingfan, he turned around and left. As soon as Lu Hui left, Lan Shilin looked at Yi Beiyuan and Duan Lingtian with a smile. His gaze wandered between the two of them. Duan Lingtian, Valley Master Yi, it's all a misunderstanding. If I had known that Brother Zhua was the disciple of Duan Lingtian's savior, Valley Master Yi, I definitely wouldn't have snatched anything from him. Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Lan Shilin repeated continuously. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he only smiled faintly. As for Yi Beiyuan, although the anger in his heart had yet to subside, on the surface, he repeatedly agreed with Lan Shilin, because he knew that at this time, he had to be tactful. Otherwise, even if the other party let his disciple go today, who knew if the other party would bring up old scores after this? Perhaps it would be impossible for the other party to attack him and his disciple for the time being. However, what about after a few hundred years, or even 1,000 years? Once this matter was gradually forgotten, Lan Shalin could then find someone to kill him and even his disciples, who would know that he, Lan Shalin, was the one who did it. He's here. As Lan Shalin's voice rang out, Lu Hui appeared once again. This time, a tall and burly young man came out with Lu Hui. Although he looked as if nothing had happened to him, his face was unusually pale. The robe on his body was also brand new and spotless. It was obvious that he had just changed. However, everyone present, even Duan Lingtian, who had a weaker cultivation base, could sense that this person's aura was weak and unstable without using divine consciousness to probe. It was obvious that he had been seriously injured earlier.
Master.
After the burly young man appeared, he went in front of Yi Beiyuan and knelt on the ground. It was only when Yi Beiyuan helped him up that he slowly stood up. You have offended young Master Lan Shalin. Now, apologize to young Master Lan Shalin properly. After Yi Beiyuan helped him up, he scolded him. As for the burly young man, although there was some unwillingness in his eyes, he still took a deep breath in the end. He turned around and said to Lan Shalin, Young Master Lan Shalin, it was Wu Zhongtong who did not recognize Mount Tai and offended you. Please forgive him. It's all right. We're all on the same side, Lan Shalin smiled and waved his hand nonchalantly. If you really want to thank someone, you should thank Duan Lingtian. As he spoke, Lan Shalin looked at Duan Lingtian again. However, when Lan Shalin looked at Duan Lingtian again, although there was a smile on his face and his gaze was relatively calm, there was still some imperceptible coldness in the depths of his eyes. Jinping Fan noticed this coldness, but after glancing at Lan Shalin indifferently, he did not say anything. At least, as far as he could see, Lan Shalin had acted sensibly enough. He had given him, the venerable ancestor, a lot of face. He could not force Jinping Fan to not feel even the slightest bit of displeasure. Thank you, Brother Duan. Zhu Zhongtong turned his body slightly and bowed to Duan Lingtian to thank him. Compared to his insincere thanks to Lan Shalin earlier, he was now full of sincerity. Seeing this difference, an imperceptible cold light flashed through Lan Shalin's eyes once more. If you want to thank someone, you should thank Senior Yi Beiyuan. Duan Lingtian said with a smile, if he hadn't helped me out on a whim in the dimensional battlefield back then, I wouldn't have known him today. It's not good for me to meddle in other people's business. Hearing this, Lan Shalin subconsciously looked at Yi Beiyuan with a hint of guilt in his eyes. Little brother Lingtian. At this moment, Yi Beiyuan looked at Duan Lingtian and said, It's your first time in Chunyang school, so I'm sure you have a lot of things to do. My good-for-nothing disciple, and I won't stay to disturb you any longer. We'll return to the Heaven Illumination sect now. You're welcome to visit the Heaven Illumination sect at any time. As for anything else, you can contact me through transmission. As long as it's within my power, I won't refuse. Yi Beiyuan was prepared to leave with his disciple now. Therefore, after exchanging soul orbs with Duan Lingtian, he left with his disciple, Zhu Zhongtong. Duan Lingtian also smiled and said goodbye to Yi Beiyuan. He did not say anything else. Since they had exchanged soul orbs, they could contact each other through transmission at any time. There was no need to rush anything. Little brother Lingtian, it's your first time here. Why don't I arrange a place for you to cultivate on this floating island? After Yi Beiyuan and his disciple left, Lan Shalin looked at Duan Lingtian enthusiastically and extended an invitation. This time, before Duan Lingtian could speak, Qin Weiyang spoke first. Junior nephew Lan Shalin, there's no need to trouble you with this. Before Marshal Granduncle and I went to Chunyang School, we've already prepared a place for Duan Lingtian to cultivate on our floating island. When Qin Weiyang said this, a hint of vigilance flashed through his eyes as he looked at Lan Shalin. If that's the case, it's such a pity. Lan Shalin sighed. Then, he looked at Duan Lingtian and said with a smile, Little brother Lingtian, you've just arrived at Chunyang School, so there must be many things you don't understand. In the future, if there's anything you don't understand, you can look for me. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out his soul orb and exchanged it for Duan Lingtian's soul orb with Duan Lingtian. Chapter 39-43. In fact, Duan Lingtian did not have a good impression of Lan Shalin, even if Lan Shalin was acting very cordially. However, He knew very well that this was all because he came with Jinping Fan. If he was alone, he would not have received such treatment. Lan Shilin might not even let Yi Beiyuan's disciples Wa Zhongtong go for his sake. Even if Qin Wuyang came with him alone, Lan Shilin might not let Wa Zhongtong go so easily, let alone if he was alone. Because Jinping Fan came personally, he was very cooperative and cooperated unconditionally. Because he knew that he had no choice but to cooperate. Thank you for sure. Although he did not like Lan Shilin, Duan Lingtian did not refuse Lan Shilin's cordiality and his request to exchange soul orbs. No matter what, he had to give Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang face. Moreover, he was new here, and it was not suitable to offend someone with a strong background like Lan Shilin at this time. You're all young people. You can interact more in the future. Seeing that Duan Lingtian and Lan Shilin had exchanged soul orbs, Jinping Fan said to Lan Shilin with a smile. Lan Shilin naturally replied, "Yes, for sure. Let's go." Jinping Fan said to Duan Lingtian and Qin Wuyang. At the same time, he said goodbye to Lan Shilin. Young Lan Shilin, we'll be leaving first. Farewell, elder ancestor. Farewell, junior uncle Qin. Brother Lingtian, see you later. Lan Shilin smiled and said goodbye to Duan Lingtian and the other two. However, when he looked at Duan Lingtian in the end, his gaze turned a little cold when he finished speaking. In the next moment, he turned around and returned to his residence. As for Lu Hui, he naturally followed after him at the first moment. As for Hu Er, he had already left. Bang! After returning to the courtyard of his residence, Lan Shilin raised his hand and smashed a pavilion in the courtyard, turning it into dust. Lu Hui stood behind him and watched everything silently. You've just arrived at Chunyang School, and you dare to interfere with my, Lan Shilin's business. Damn it. At this moment, Lan Shilin no longer had his previous gentleness. All that was left was endless rage. His originally handsome face had also become somewhat ferocious and twisted in an instant. When have I, Lan Shilin, ever suffered such a huge loss since I was born? What's more, it's a silent loss. Lan Shilin's heart was twisted as well. After leaving the floating island where Lan Shilin and the others were, Duan Lingtian followed Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang and passed by many floating islands. In the end, they appeared outside a floating island that was slightly larger than the one Lan Shilin was on. Along the way, they also met some students from Chunyang School. They all greeted Qin Wuyang respectfully. The few who could recognize Elder Jingshu's identity token also bowed respectfully to Jinping Fan and called him Elder Jingshu. However, they did not seem to know which Elder Jingshu this was. For a moment, Duan Lingtian also realized that not everyone in Chunyang School could recognize Jinping Fan. Grand-granduncle is a mysterious figure in our Chunyang School. He usually only moves around our floating island and rarely goes out. As if he saw Duan Lingtian's doubts, Qin Wuyang explained to him in a timely manner. Hearing this, Duan Lingtian also came to a sudden realization. Greetings, grand-granduncle, senior brother Qin. When Duan Lingtian and the others entered the floating island in front of them, a middle-aged man flashed in the void. However, he was different from the people they had met before. He obviously recognized Jinping Fan and bowed to Jinping Fan and Qin Wuyang repeatedly. Duan Lingtian, this is a disciple of a senior brother of mine. His name is Zhao Lu. Jinping Fan saw the middle-aged man in front of him and did not greet him. He directly introduced him to Duan Lingtian. Although he is little Yang Yang's junior brother and is also an elder Jingshu, his strength is still stronger than little Yang Yang's. In the future, if you have any problems, you can also look for him. You can exchange soul beads with each other, Jinping Fan said. Hearing Jinping Fan's words, Duan Lingtian quickly took out his soul bead. After being stunned for a moment, Zhao Lu also immediately took out his soul bead. So you are Duan Lingtian. After exchanging soul beads, Zhao Lu smiled brightly. Hello, I am Zhao Lu, an elder Jingshu like senior brother Qin. I should be able to become a Jade Void Elder in 100 years. The Jade Void Elders of the Chunyang School were all top-level, high-level Divine Emperors. Their strength was comparable to the Golden Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan. As for Elder Jingshu, he was slightly weaker, only comparable to the Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan. Elder Zhao Lu. Duan Lingtian repeatedly greeted Zhao Lu with a smile on his face. He knew that since Zhen Pingfan had asked him to exchange soul beads with Zhao Lu, Zhen Pingfan valued Zhao Lu. At least in Zhen Pingfan's eyes, Zhao Lu was a more reliable person compared to him. Duan Lingtian, I haven't been out for a long time. Now that I'm back, I'm going to say hello to my father. After greeting Duan Lingtian, Zhen Pingfan looked at Duan Lingtian and said, Next, these two boys will arrange your accommodation. I'll talk to you later when I'm free. Although the journey from Tianfeng City to Chunyang School was spent on the Divine Artifact spaceship, the journey from the Tianlong clan to Linghu City and from Linghu City to Tianfeng City was different. During those two journeys, Duan Lingtian and Zhen Pingfan chatted happily. Duan Lingtian even told Zhen Pingfan a lot of interesting things about Earth in his previous life, as well as all kinds of new things that Zhen Pingfan did not know about. This made Zhen Pingfan very curious about Earth. At one point, he made an agreement with Duan Lingtian that after 300 years, when the space channel between the lower dimensions and the planes of gods opened, Duan Lingtian would take him to Earth for a tour. Duan Lingtian, as an adult who came from Earth, did not have much of a sense of hierarchy. Along the way, he seemed to have forgotten that Zhen Pingfan was an emperor god expert, a lofty existence in Chunyang School. He chatted with him like a friend. Under such circumstances, the relationship between the two of them became closer. At the very least, Zhen Pingfan no longer valued him as an outstanding junior disciple. Okay, Duan Lingtian responded casually. When Qin Wuyang saw Duan Lingtian and Zhen Pingfan talking so casually, he was used to it. However, Zhao Lu was stunned. Don't be surprised. Qin Wuyang saw Zhao Lu's surprise and explained with a smile, Martial Granduncle and Duan Lingtian hit it off at first sight. They're no different from friends. In the future, unless Duan Lingtian becomes a disciple of someone, it'll be difficult to give him any seniority. Qin Wuyang's smile turned into a bitter one when he said this. A brat who was not even 3,000 years old was friends with his martial granduncle, and his martial granduncle treated him as an equal. If Duan Lingtian did not become a disciple of someone, how would he be regarded as a disciple in the future? After listening to Qin Wuyang's explanation, Zhao Lu nodded woodenly. After a while, he came back to his senses and led Duan Lingtian inside with Qin Wuyang. Elder Qin, didn't you say that you've already arranged a place for me to stay? Duan Lingtian was stunned when he saw Qin Wuyang and Zhao Lu pointing at some of the buildings on the floating island and asking him which one he liked. This was because Qin Wuyang had said in front of Lan Shilin that he'd already arranged a place for him to stay. That was just to appease that brat Lan Shilin. Qin Wuyang smiled. That brat wants you to stay with him. Even if he's not trying to make things difficult for you, he's definitely trying to rope you into his faction. Martial Granduncle and I invited you here. If you go to his faction, we'll be at a great disadvantage. Duan Lingtian, although you have the right to make your own choice, and Junior Granduncle and I can't force you to stay, I still want to tell you that it's better for you to stay in our progeny than the other progenies. Perhaps the other factions have resources and environments that aren't inferior to ours, but which Jingshu elder in their faction can treat you as an equal like our martial granduncle? Qin Wuyang brought up Zhen Pingfan in order to rope in Duan Lingtian and make Duan Lingtian stay with their faction. They were the ones who'd invited Duan Lingtian back. However, if people from the other factions knew that Duan Lingtian had come to Chunyang School, they would most likely try to rope him in. At that time, even if Duan Lingtian chose to go to the other factions, they could only suffer in silence. There was nothing they could do. With a genius like Duan Lingtian and the upcoming 7 Prefectures banquet, as long as he didn't want to, their faction really couldn't force Duan Lingtian to stay. Duan Lingtian saw Qin Wuyang's concern and shook his head with a smile. Elder Qin, you don't have to say so much. I came back with you in Elder Zhen. In this Chunyang School, I'm the closest to you. If I don't stay with your faction, which faction will I stay with? Moreover, I'll remember all the good you and Elder Zhen have done for me, Duan Lingtian said. When he heard Duan Lingtian's words, a bright smile appeared on Qin Wuyang's face. I knew you're not a heartless person. Although Duan Lingtian felt that Qin Wuyang's words were a little strange, he didn't correct him. Under the guidance of Qin Wuyang and Zhao Lu, he continued to choose his residence. Zhao Lu was actually a little worried before. because he had just confirmed with Qin Wuyang that Duan Lingtian had killed 2 mid-level divine emperors in succession when he was a lower-level divine emperor in the Tianlong clan. And it was even more dangerous than the rumors said. At that time, he knew that Duan Lingtian's value was enough to attract the attention of all factions in Chunying School. He was also wondering if Duan Lingtian would be lured away by one of the factions. Some factions in Chunying School were unscrupulous. They would do anything to achieve their goals. Now, after hearing Duan Lingtian's attitude in front of Qin Wuyang, he immediately felt relieved. At the same time, he also found Duan Lingtian more pleasing to the eye. Let's go there. After about 10 breaths, Duan Lingtian's eyes fixed on a place. Chapter 39:44. The mansion that Duan Lingtian had his eyes on was a mansion that was situated beside a mountain. It was not big, but it was not small either. The front and back of the mansion were arranged in picturesque disorder. When one looked down, it was like a painting. When Qin Wuyang saw that Duan Lingtian had his eyes on the mansion in front of him, he said with a smile, "Duan Lingtian, you really have good taste. This mansion was built not long ago. It's one of the mansions that we're going to use for the new disciples. It's also the one with the best environment. I didn't expect you to choose it at first glance." Qin Wuyang praised. As the saying goes, first come, first served. Duan Lingtian arrived first and chose this mansion. This shows that he has a connection with this mansion. Zhao Lu chimed in from the side. Just like that, Duan Lingtian settled down at the Chunying School. "Duan Lingtian, feel free to look for me if you need anything," Zhao Lu said to Duan Lingtian. "As for your entry procedures, I'll take you to them tomorrow. Senior brother Qin, you must be tired from the journey. Take a rest. There's no need for you to personally take Duan Lingtian to the entry procedures." After speaking to Duan Lingtian, Zhao Lu turned to Qin Wuyang and said. Qin Wuyang laughed when he heard this. "Junior brother Zhao, you really care about me. Duan Lingtian, you'll go with junior brother Zhao tomorrow to complete the entry procedures. Also, if there's anything else, you can contact me and junior brother Zhao. If we can't handle it, you can look for Martial Granduncle. In the Tianlong clan, there's basically nothing that Martial Granduncle can't handle." At this point, Qin Wuyang seemed to have thought of something, and the smile on his face faded a little. Of course, you should also understand that if it's not a matter of bullying, it's not convenient for Martial Granduncle to intervene if it's just a competition between peers. Of course, if it's a competition between peers, you, Duan Lingtian, won't be afraid of anyone. Qin Wuyang chuckled as he spoke. Other people, even those who had seen Duan Lingtian kill the 2 mid-level god emperors in the floating image pearl, might think that there was a reason why Duan Lingtian could kill them so easily. Perhaps, the 2 of them were already heavily injured? Duan Lingtian was just taking advantage of the situation. He had thought of this before, but after he went to the Tianlong clan and inquired a few times, he got a very definite answer. Duan Lingtian had killed 2 middle-level divine emperors at their peak. Moreover, neither of the 2 middle-level god emperors was weaker than the inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan. "Elder Qin, don't worry. I know what to do even if you don't remind me," Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Disciples of the same sect compete with peers. No matter who loses, it's because he's not as skilled as the other. Naturally, it's not good to rely on one's background to get others to interfere. That's the principle. Seeing that Duan Lingtian was so sensible and tactful, Qin Wuyang's smile became even brighter. Of course, with Martial Granduncle here, you don't have to worry about the other party's elders making things difficult for you. If the other party's elders dare to make things difficult for you, then he'll be out of luck. A cold grin flickered across Qin Wuyang's lips as he finished his sentence. Duan Lingtian nodded. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. He had never imagined that he would have such a powerful backer like Zhenping Fan when he had just entered the Chunying School, one of the top sects in Tunglung Province. Based on what he knew about Zhenping Fan was not only a second-generation powerhouse in the Chunying School, but also a powerhouse himself. Moreover, the Chunying School's sect leader was his junior brother. After a while, Qin Wuyang and Zhao Lu said their goodbyes and left. Duan Lingtian also entered his own mansion and went into the inner room. Of course, Before Zhao Lu left, he also told Duan Lingtian how to activate the formation in the mansion. This would also tell others that this mansion had an owner. At the same time, the name Duan Lingtian was engraved on a blank stone tablet in front of the mansion's gate. Duan Lingtian had listened to Zhao Lu and written it himself. In the mansion, there was a front yard, a backyard, and a pond in the backyard. There were many flowers and plants planted in the backyard. Duan Lingtian could recognize some of them as medicinal herbs. As for the front yard, it was basically paved with bluestone bricks. There was a small hill, and not far from the hill, there was a pavilion. Inside the pavilion, there was a large stone table and 6 stone benches. The environment is really good. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly before he entered the largest room in the mansion. It was also the master's room. It could be said that the mansion he was currently living in was the best place he had lived in since he arrived in the mystic stellar land in the realms of gods. Oh, right. I should remind Elder Qin about the divine void-piercing shuttle. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian sent the message to Qin Wuyang to inform him about the divine void-piercing shuttle. Qin Wuyang immediately replied that he would immediately send a message to the divine weapon master he was familiar with. Actually, there's no need to rush. Elder Qin, you've just returned. You can rest for a while before you look for the divine void-piercing shuttle. Duan Lingtian quickly added, feeling slightly embarrassed by Qin Wuyang's cooperation. However, even so, Qin Wuyang still replied to him in less than 15 minutes. Duan Lingtian, I've already spoken to him. However, he's not in the sect right now. He'll only be back after some time. Also, he doesn't have the materials needed to refine the divine void-piercing shuttle. Since he's not back yet, I'll help you look for them. Qin Wuyang said. Thank you, Elder Qin. Duan Lingtian thanked Qin Wuyang profusely. Elder Qin, I'll give you divine crystals when the time comes. There's no need for that. Qin Wuyang said nonchalantly, the materials needed to refine the divine void-piercing shuttle aren't that valuable. I, Qin Wuyang, can still afford to give you these things. Just treat it as my gift for sending you into the pure sun sect and into our faction. Duan Lingtian wanted to insist, but Qin Wuyang was even more insistent. In the end, he could only agree helplessly. However, in his heart, he thought that he would refine some divine pills that would be useful to Qin Wuyang in return. After ending his communication with Qin Wuyang, Duan Lingtian began to think about his current situation. I'm in Chunying School now, not in the Tianlong clan. There are more experts here. Moreover, the branch that I am in now is a branch that has an expert of the Middle God Emperor realm. I'm afraid I won't be able to hide from him if I refine the ultimate Emperor-grade divine pill here. It seems like I can only refine the ultimate King-grade divine pill in Chunying School. If I want to refine the ultimate Emperor-grade divine pill, I'll have to refine it after I leave. Fortunately, I'm new here, and I don't have any enemies in Chunying School. I don't have to be as careful as when I was in the Tianlong clan. As he muttered to himself, Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of someone. That's right. Yang Qinya, the son of the sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect, is also in Chunying School. A large number of the higher-ups of the Thousand Demons sect were killed by the Tianlong clan because I was attacked by the men of sacrifice. I wonder if his father, the sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect, was among them. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian sent a message to the Tianlong clan sect leader, Long Qingchong, who was in the Tianlong clan, to inquire about the situation. The response he received was that the sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect was still alive. Previously, the sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect was not among the higher-ups who were killed by Xue Mingji, the deputy sect leader of the Tianlong clan. Since that's the case, I don't have any deep hatred for him. He might target me. However, he shouldn't want to take my life. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Moreover, even if he wants to take my life, he needs to have the ability to do so, unless he relies on his backer in Chunying School to kill me. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian stopped thinking about it. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate, waiting for the arrival of tomorrow. At that time, Elder Lingshu, Zhao Lu, would take him to complete the procedures for entering the Chunying School. Just as Duan Lingtian settled down and began to cultivate, Yang Qinya, the young sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect, who was also in Chunying School, received the news. Duan Lingtian has already come to Chunyang School, and he has entered Elder Qin Wuyang's Yun Peak? Yang Qinya sat cross-legged on the bed, his expression gloomy and unsightly. He also knew about the recent changes in the Thousand Demons sect. Shui Mingji, the deputy sect leader of the Tianlong clan, went to the Thousand Demons sect and said that he wanted to investigate the matter of the Shenhuang death squad entering the Tianlong clan to kill Duan Lingtian. In the end, he found a group of high-ranking officials led by the supreme elder of the Thousand Demons sect, Du Zhan, and killed them all. In addition, his childhood friend Du Pejuan, who was in the Tianlong clan, and Du Qianjun, whom he regarded as his younger brother, were also executed one by one after the death of the Tianlong clan's inner sect elder, Kuang Tianjing. This was because they were the grandchildren of Kuang Tianjing's junior brother, Du Zhan, who had the same master as Kuang Tianjing. They belonged to Kuang Tianjing's branch. Of course, he didn't know about the latter matter before. Some time ago, his father, Lan Qing, the sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect, told him about it. The reason why he didn't tell him before was that having sex would affect his cultivation. After that, he had to tell him. Because that matter was related to the death of the Thousand Demons sect's supreme elder, it couldn't be concealed for long. Even if he didn't tell Yang Qinya now, Yang Qinya would soon find out about it through other channels. How could this Duan Lingtian enter the God Emperor realm in such a short time and catch up with my cultivation? Most importantly, 2 middle-level God Emperor men of sacrifice tried to assassinate him in the Tianlong clan, but were killed by him instead? As the young sect leader of the Thousand Demons sect, he knew more about the assassination of Duan Lingtian than many people of the Tianlong clan. Unlike most people of the Tianlong clan, he didn't think that the 2 men of sacrifice were injured. At that time, among the people who witnessed it, there was an elder of the Thousand Demons sect. That elder could be considered as his martial granduncle. They had communicated with each other, so he could confirm that the 2 middle-level God Emperor men of sacrifice were at their peak strength. Neither of them was weaker than the martial granduncle who had communicated with him about this matter. His martial granduncle was one of the strongest inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan. At least, he wasn't at the bottom. Chapter 39:45. Duan Lingtian cultivated for an entire night and deeply sensed his current cultivation base. Not long after, he heard Zhao Lu's voice from outside. Duan Lingtian, I'll bring you to complete the procedures to enter the school. Duan Lingtian, who was mentally prepared, immediately left the mansion when he heard Zhao Lu's voice. He stepped into the air and arrived beside Zhao Lu, who had been waiting for him for a long time. Elder Zhao Lu, let's go. Zhao Lu smiled amiably, and Duan Lingtian nodded. Then, he followed Zhao Lu and left the floating island. During the journey, Zhao Lu also introduced the island to him. This floating island is said to be the cultivation place of our Cloud Peak. It's also called Cloud Peak Island. The name Cloud Peak has no other meaning. It's just the name of our old ancestor. Our old ancestor is called Zhan Yunfeng. He's also the father of Elder Zhan, who brought you back from the Tianlong clan. He's said to be one of the few Void Peer stage elders in our Chunyang school. You should also know that the Void Peer stage elders in our Chunyang school are all experts who have stepped into the mid-God Emperor realm. Duan Lingtian nodded after hearing Zhao Lu's words. After leaving Cloud Peak Island, Zhao Lu continued, in our Chunyang school, there are many branches. Anyone who has reached the profound void stage or above can establish a branch of their own. For example, Martial Granduncle can actually leave Cloud Peak and establish his own branch. However, he's not interested in doing so. Besides, even if he establishes his own branch, I'm afraid there won't be many people because the people of the same branch as him are all in Cloud Peak. Duan Lingtian nodded after hearing Zhao Lu's words. They were all family. Even if they split from the family, as the son, he might not be able to bring many people with him. That was because the people of Yunfeng's bloodline would definitely respect Zhan Pingfan's father more than him. Elder Zhao Lu, if Elder Zhan establishes his own progeny, won't the progeny he establishes be called the ordinary progeny? And the floating island where his mundane lineage resides will be called Mundane Island? Suddenly, Duan Lingtian thought of this and immediately asked Zhao Lu about it. Zhao Lu had a strange expression on his face when he heard his words. Then, he shook his head and smiled. In fact, the name that the ancestor gave to Martial Granduncle was often criticized by the other ancestors. They said that a genius like Martial Granduncle is not worthy of the word ordinary. However, under normal circumstances, if Martial Granduncle were to establish his own lineage, he would indeed use the name of the ordinary lineage, and the floating island he occupies would also be called Ordinary Island. Zhao Lu smiled. Normally speaking, in a situation like Elder Zhen's, there shouldn't be many independent sects, right? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. Of course. Zhao Lu nodded. After all, he's not the strongest person in his progeny. Although he's qualified to establish his own progeny, it's meaningless for him to establish his own progeny. Is he going to establish his own progeny to compete with his father's progeny? Unless he's not the ancestor's son but a nephew or something. If that's the case, he can take his progeny away and establish his own progeny. Duan Lingtian could understand Zhao Lu's words. It was indeed the case. Then, what if one day, Elder Zhen becomes even stronger than his father? What will you say? Duan Lingtian asked. In terms of growth, the master of a progeny was usually the strongest person in that progeny. However, what if a stronger person appeared? Moreover, what if the stronger person was his son? Zhao Lu was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then, he smiled and said, under such circumstances, Martial Granduncle would either establish his own progeny, or the ancestor would transfer the progeny to him and rename it the mundane progeny. Of course, the ancestor must be willing to do so. Otherwise, if he wants to become the master of a progeny, he'll have to establish his own progeny. However, that won't happen. Putting aside Martial Granduncle's personality, he's not interested in leading a progeny. Even if he was, would he take the initiative to compete with his father? It's meaningless. Zhao Lu paused for a moment before he recalled something inside. Moreover, the ancestor's 1,000-year heavenly tribulation a few hundred years ago was already difficult for him. I wonder how many more heavenly tribulations he can withstand. All celestial kings and above had to face the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation. No one could avoid it. In the various realms of gods, the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation was also known as the life-seeking heavenly tribulation. The longer one lived, the stronger the heavenly tribulation. If one's strength could not keep up, one would eventually perish under the heavenly tribulation. For example, in the Tianlong clan where Duan Lingtian was from, many higher divine emperors had perished under the heavenly tribulation because they failed to break through and become god emperors. If they could break through and become god emperors, even if they might not be able to live forever, they would at least be able to live longer. For this reason, Duan Lingtian did not feel anything when he heard Zhao Lu's words. Zhen Pingfan's father was definitely not young anymore. Even a middle god emperor would find it difficult to withstand the heavenly tribulation. How powerful must he be? Duan Lingtian's heart trembled just thinking about it. If he were to face such a heavenly tribulation, wouldn't he be reduced to ashes in the blink of an eye? However, our progeny is still fine. Even if the ancestor really does meet with misfortune, Martial Granduncle will still be there to support him. As for the other progeny, many of their progeny are having a hard time facing the heavenly tribulation without having a successor. Zhao Lu's expression clearly showed how fortunate he was when he said this. Duan Lingtian could understand what Zhao Lu was saying. It was just that some progeny only had one god emperor supporting them, and that god emperor was beginning to feel powerless in the face of the heavenly tribulation of 1,000 years. Once he died, if his progeny did not have a second god emperor to support them, they would lose their backbone. If a progeny's only god emperor dies, what will happen to the people of that progeny? Duan Lingtian asked. Zhao Lu sighed. If that happens, the people of that progeny will have to move away from the floating island they're on. Only a progeny with a god emperor supporting them can occupy a floating island in the Chunyang School's encampment as their base of operations. If a progeny loses a god emperor, the people of that progeny will be assigned to the cultivation grounds of ordinary elders and disciples after they move away from the floating island they occupy. They will no longer enjoy special treatment. Of course, If there are outstanding existences among them, or if they have connections, they can go to other progeny with a god emperor supporting them. Zhao Lu's words made Duan Lingtian realize the reality of the Chunying school. However, he could understand this reality. After all, there was no such thing as a free lunch. You can enjoy special treatment because your forefather is a god emperor. If your forefather dies and your progeny doesn't have a god emperor, your special treatment will be revoked and you'll be sent to accompany ordinary elders and disciples. However, that's something the other progeny have to worry about. Yun Peak doesn't have to worry about that. At the very least, our Yun Peak lineage can change its name to the ordinary lineage. Furthermore, even if that time really comes, it will be thousands or even tens of thousands of years later. Besides, who knows if our forefather will make a breakthrough in the next 10,000 years and become even stronger to face the heavenly tribulation. No one could have predicted such a thing. Duan Lingtian chatted with Zhao Lu on the way to the Chunying school's encampment. He learned a lot about the Chunying school from Zhao Lu. For example, there were a total of 19 progeny branches in the Chunying school. Yun Peak's progeny was just one of them. Among these 19 progeny branches, 7 of them were the strongest because they were all led by void-pierced stage elders. Therefore, they were naturally the 7 strongest progeny branches in the Chunying school. The remaining 12 progeny branches were led by Jing-Su elders. For example, when Duan Lingtian first arrived at the Chunying school, Lan Shilin's progeny branch was one of them. Elder Zhao Lu, will I be considered a member of Yun Peak's progeny after going through the procedures? Or do I still need to go through other procedures in Yun Peak? Duan Lingtian asked Zhao Lu. He suddenly thought of this question. Hearing this, Zhao Lu smiled and said, after going through the procedures, you can only be considered a disciple of the Chunying school. If you want to join our progeny branches and become a member of our progeny branches, you need to go through other procedures in our progeny branches and leave the brand of our progeny branches on your identity token. Of course, those imprints can be removed. This is also to allow some people to have more choices. If you feel uncomfortable in any progeny branches and feel bad, as long as you have the ability, you can choose to join another progeny branches if there are other progeny branches that want to accept you. In the progeny branches, this is not considered betrayal. At most, the people of the previous progeny branches will target you. Of course, this kind of thing doesn't happen often in our Chunying school. A complicated light flashed through Zhao Lu's eyes as he spoke. Although it was just a flash, Duan Lingtian still caught it. Elder Zhao Lu, you seem to be rather emotional when you say these words. Could it be that there's such a person in our Yun Peak? Duan Lingtian was good at reading people's expressions. He could see the change in Zhao Lu's expression at this moment. When Zhao Lu heard this, he smiled wryly and said, "It's no big deal to tell you this. In fact, I'm such a person myself. I, Zhao Lu, was not a member of Yun Feng's bloodline. Instead, I belonged to another bloodline. However, in order to allow me to focus on my cultivation without any distractions, that bloodline actually sent people to exterminate my distant clan. When I found out that the instigator of all this was my master at that time, I almost went crazy. Later, my master was expelled from the progeny branches. Because I felt awkward staying in that progeny branches, I switched to Yun Peak. Then, I met my master after that. He treated me like his own son. Unfortunately, he passed away too early. Before I could show him my filial piety, he died under the heavenly tribulation. Chapter 39:46. Elder Zhao Lu, I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to have such a tumultuous past. Duan Lingtian was slightly embarrassed. If he had known that his question would reopen Zhao Lu's scar, he would not have said so much. Due to this reason, apart from feeling embarrassed, he was also apologetic. It's all right. Zhao Lu took a deep breath and returned to his senses. He waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Everyone in Yun Peak knows about this. Even if you don't hear it from me now, you'll hear it from someone else in the future. Furthermore, I have a clear conscience about switching to the Yun Peak lineage. I don't mind what others say about me." Zhao Lu said nonchalantly. Naturally, although Zhao Lu said it nonchalantly, Duan Lingtian could still sense the fluctuation in his emotions. He was no longer as calm as he was before. It seemed like the impact of this matter on him was not as small as he had made it out to be. For the rest of the journey, as long as Zhao Lu did not speak, Duan Lingtian would not speak either. He was afraid he would say the wrong thing again and that Zhao Lu would hold a grudge against him for what he had said earlier and did not want to hear him speak again. However, he soon realized he was measuring the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. Before they arrived at the place where they had to complete the procedures to enter the sect, Zhao Lu's mood had already returned to normal. He even began to joke with Duan Lingtian. Junior brother Qin has always been called Little Yang Yang by senior granduncle. This might not be a big deal to him, but many people in Yun Peak are talking about this behind his back. Most of them are laughing when they talk about this. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he shook his head and smiled. Although I haven't known Elder Qin for long, based on what I've seen of him, I don't think he cares about this. He might not care about other people talking about it, but what if he knows his disciples and grand-disciples are talking about it as well? As an elder, don't tell me he's shameless? Zhao Lu said with a smile. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he was momentarily speechless. This seemed to be a little unsolvable. As an elder, it was only natural that he would want to be stern and lofty in front of his juniors. Even if he was not stern and lofty, he should at least be amiable. But now, after being addressed as Little Yang Yang, that Elder Qin seemed to be unable to be lofty or serious even if he wanted to. Amiable? An amiable old man was now being called Little Yang Yang? We're here. At this time, Zhao Lu led Duan Lingtian to an even larger floating island. This floating island is the most central floating island in the Chunyang School's encampment. It's also called the Wanxiang Island. The word Wanxiang has the meaning of all-encompassing. In the sect, the matters that can be handled by the side branches are handled by the side branches. However, the matters that need to be handled by the sect members are handled on the island of versatility. Besides, the cultivation grounds of the ordinary elders and disciples are also located on the island of versatility. In addition, the various halls of the sect, such as the disciplinary hall, the trading hall, the martial arts hall, etc., are all located on the island of versatility. I'll show you around the island of versatility after you're done with the procedures to enter the sect and show you the way. Zhao Lu said to Duan Lingtian, while glancing at the gigantic floating island. Thank you, Elder Zhao Lu. Duan Lingtian said. Don't mention it. Zhao Lu said indifferently. As they entered the island, Zhao Lu raised his eyebrows as if he had suddenly recalled something, and said to Duan Lingtian in a straightforward manner, Duan Lingtian, if I'm not mistaken, there will be people from the other side branches waiting for you at the sect affair hall. When the time comes, they will surely offer you an olive branch and tempt you with some benefits. I'll tell you what the Yun Peak branch is willing to give you as a welcome gift. As Zhao Lu was about to reveal the conditions of the Yun Peak branch, Duan Lingtian interrupted him with a slight frown. Elder Zhao Lu, you're being a little too rude. Didn't I tell you and Elder Qin yesterday that I'll definitely join the Yun Peak branch? You're underestimating me, Duan Lingtian. Anyone would be displeased seeing this, as Zhao Lu's actions clearly showed that he did not trust Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian. On the other hand, Zhao Lu did not become angry after seeing Duan Lingtian's displeasure, but said with a smile, Duan Lingtian, as the saying goes, brothers should settle their debts clearly. It's better to be clear about some things. Yesterday, we also mentioned what you said in front of me and Elder Qin to Senior Granduncle. Senior Granduncle even scolded Elder Qin, saying that he shouldn't have spoken out of turn and tried to force you to stay. Martial Granduncle said that if the other branches offer better conditions and you're tempted, you can go there. However, the Yun Peak branch will also give you a welcome gift so that you won't be at a disadvantage. Of course, even if you don't choose the Yun Peak branch in the end, we won't hold a grudge against you. Martial Granduncle said that even if you join the other branches, it won't affect your friendship. When he mentioned the word friendship, Zhao Lu's gaze clearly changed. His martial granduncle was the strongest of the pure Sun sect's quiet void elders, a god emperor. Yet, he had taken the initiative to befriend a god emperor, a lower god emperor at that. Usually, if a lesser god emperor wanted to talk about friendship with his martial granduncle, he would think that the other party was not worthy or qualified. But now, everything had reversed. His martial granduncle had accepted Duan Lingtian as a friend. Elder Zhaolu, you don't have to give me anything else. As for Elder Zhen, I'll talk to him. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, I've already accepted the welcome gift before coming here with Elder Zhan and Elder Qin. The 1,000,000 taels of divine crystals were still in his spatial ring. He would never forget about it. After leaving the Linghu family, he wanted to return it to Zhenping Fan, but Zhenping Fan was unwilling to accept it. He even said that it was given to him by the Linghu family and that he should not accept it without doing anything. This made him feel both helpless and grateful. Elder Zhaolu, let's go. Duan Lingtian urged when he saw Zhaolu standing still. It was unknown whether he was thinking about something or reporting something to Zhenping Fan. Zhaolu only regained his senses when he heard this. He looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated expression. A hint of admiration flashed in his eyes before he continued to lead the way. Not long after, Duan Lingtian arrived in the air above a spacious square. On one side of the square was a building that occupied a large area. It looked like it was formed by connecting many palaces. This is the sect hall. Zhaolu led Duan Lingtian forward and landed in front of the entrance of the palace. A gigantic stone tablet could be seen erected at the side of the entrance. The words Sect Affairs Hall were engraved on it in a flamboyant manner. Duan Lingtian saw this stone tablet from afar. It was so huge that it was almost as tall as the sect hall in front of him. The sect hall is the place where the sect handles its affairs. For example, elders and disciples of all ranks have to come here if they meet the requirements for promotion. Before that, they have to go to the assessment hall to pass the assessment and be recognized by the assessment hall. Ordinary people have to wait until the Chunyang school accepts disciples. They also have to pass many complicated assessments before they can enter the Chunyang school. However, you don't have to do any of that. This is because you're a person specially recruited by the Chunyang school. You have special privileges. Putting aside your combat strength, just the fact that you've become a divine emperor before you're 3,000 years old is enough for you to be exempted from the assessment and enter our Chunyang school. Zhaolu paused for a moment before he continued, however. Duan Lingtian, I have to tell you something in advance. Duan Lingtian looked at Zhaolu in confusion. Zhaolu stopped in his tracks. Zhaolu continued, that is, although you can be exempted from the assessment when you enter our Chunyang school, you'll only be an ordinary disciple of our Chunyang school from the beginning. Martial Granduncle told me that when he was in the Tianlong clan, he promised you that once you enter the Chunyang school, he'll give you the treatment of a true martial disciple, the highest-ranking disciple in the Chunyang school. However, that was given by him personally and not by the sect. If you want to become a true martial disciple in the sect, you'll have to fight for it yourself. Of course, Martial Granduncle also told me that. At that time, he'll still give you the treatment of a true martial disciple that he promised you. It'll be equivalent to you enjoying the treatment of 2 true martial disciples after you become a true martial disciple in the Chunyang school. As for the assessment hall, you can take the assessment at any time. Zhaolu said, I thought you had something to tell me, Elder Zhaolu. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. He looked extremely surprised. This is only a small matter, and I think it's only natural. It's good enough that I can be exempted from the tedious assessment to enter the sect. As for the status and treatment, I'll have to rely on myself. I hope I can rely on myself. Duan Lingtian's straightforward words caused Zhaolu's gaze to soften. I've underestimated you. With your strength and talent, it's only a small matter for you to become a true martial disciple. Zhaolu said, a true martial disciple. Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of someone and asked curiously, Elder Zhaolu, is Lan Shilin a true martial disciple? Lan Shilin? Zhaolu was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then, he nodded awkwardly. He's a true martial disciple. He passed the assessment as a lower divine emperor 300 years ago. The reason Zhaolu was stunned was because before he joined Yunfeng's bloodline, he was in the same bloodline as Lan Shilin. His master, who had been expelled from the sect, was a disciple of Lan Shilin's great-grandfather. He was also Lan Shilin's martial granduncle. Let's go in. After Zhaolu regained his senses, he brought Duan Lingtian with him and walked slowly into the sect affairs hall. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.